Give it to me. Oh, not this game. This game I played like shit. Mhm. Sure, I'm Sovereign. I led Second Wind in UGC and one season of RGL. My name is not Eunice. I'll talk about it. I made this YouTube channel when I was like 11, when YouTube just came out. And I asked a friend of mine whose name was Eunice, what should I name my YouTube channel? And she just said Eunice is cool, and I just kind of kept it. So, yeah, my name is not Eunice. I know a lot of people think my name is Eunice. But yeah. Uh, when I got into Steam, this was about like 2011, 2010, around there. Um, Prior to that, I hadn't really played computer games. I was mostly an Xbox player. But when I played StarCraft, I ended up settling on the name Ghosty. And then when I went to Xbox Live, I wanted Ghosty to be my gamer tag, but it was taken. So I combined the words Ghosty and Ownage to be Ghostage. And it also gives me shit for that because that's my Steam profile name. But yeah, I went with Ghostage. One of my friends, his cousin, used to shit on me and call me G Hostage. Uh, and yeah, I didn't want that name anymore when I came to Steam. So I've been playing a little bit of Mass Effect at the time, and I wanted a name that kind of sounded cool, like if you were casting a game, and Sovereign just kind of seemed like a standout name to me, so I just kind of went with it. I've thought about that. I've settled on the answer of not a lot because the name doesn't make the player makes the name. So what was the question? Maybe. I think Steam was probably the first platform that allowed you to freely change your name. Like with StarCraft, like you'd have to make a new account, or like Battle.net rather. Um, you'd have to pay to change your gamer tag on Xbox, but in Steam, you could make it whatever you want. You have an account name, but like no one ever uses their account name as a display name, right? You just change it to whatever you want. You could be someone different tomorrow. So I think I don't know, it's just kind of fun. Yeah. And sometimes you end up wondering, like, what does that name mean? Like, I know I look at Alto's name sometimes, and I'm curious, what is he up to? What is this inside joke? I don't know. He's probably in deep on some weird manga or light novel. He sends me a lot of screenshots of like random, like fringe mangas and stuff, and I don't understand them. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny when it's on purpose, but it's even funnier when they're serious. Like when it's their actual name. I remember like back in the day, we used to go around to pubs and we'd intentionally have a stupid name just so they died to someone with a stupid name. My go-to was always Dark Vader. It triggers a lot of people. Um, but yeah, actually, funny we talk about this. As most people know, like Second Wind still does anime nights, well, anime afternoons now. But in a recent season, you've seen the Bobby Basketball 1999 video, right? What? Holy shit! This is classic. Do you? Oh wait, was that Steam or Disc? Oh, you have it? Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell? Ooh, air shot by Bobby Basketball, 1999.
So if you look at the kill feed,
Oh my god! Bobby Basketball, 1999. Oh my god! Bobby Basketball, 1999. Holy shit!
it's actually amazing. Yeah. So we were watching an anime. We watched seasonal animes, and there was a scene where this guy with a bow started air shotting these blobs, and everyone who comes to anime night is like we're TF2 players, and we all just started screaming Bobby Basketball 1999 for every air shot that guy hit, and it was a really funny moment because that wouldn't have worked in any other company, right? My mom, when I was young, she believed that computers were the future, and she started me off as soon as I was able to with computer games. And first, I had like educational games and stuff, but eventually, Blizzard was king back then. And I grew up on like Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, Diablo 1, Diablo 2, and StarCraft. I had gotten no, not that game. That game I did terrible. Okay. Close that one. Close that one. Let's go to go up. Mm, you can go to bio with some poor decisions, I guess. Anyways, yeah. So I got into StarCraft around the time when I guess I would consider myself, you know, um, sentient. I guess. My uncle went to China on a trip, and then he came back for Christmas with some like bootleg games, and one of them was StarCraft, and I started then, and I started learning how to play the game. A lot of cheat codes in single player, and that's how I got introduced to online play. I was what, like 8 or something? No, I was like 6 when I got it, but I started online play around the time Diablo 2 came out, so I was about 8 ish. I don't know. Um, yeah. It was just really interesting. It's very much a thinking game, but uh, I guess the best way to describe StarCraft is it's it's almost more of a real time game than it is a strategy game because it's so hard to do everything. And like I know when I was young, like I didn't care. I was just bad at the game. But as I got older and I started watching like people who were good play the game, it was like holy crap! Like we're playing the same game, right? Like it was so different. And so I don't know. I was kind of mesmerized by some of the players, and I wanted to get better at the game. It wasn't until like I was in my teens before I actually understood how to do most of these things. But yeah, it was always really interesting. I'm very much in any game that I play. I think I'm always a human. So like in StarCraft, it's a Terran race. Could you repeat the question? Oh, I think it exists in games that have a low bar of entry, but like a really high skill ceiling. You can see it in all those kinds of games. Like same thing in Team Fortress 2. Like people who obviously don't know how to play in a pub, like they're playing a different game than say like Banny, right? Um, and it's just it's a difference of like maybe sense of urgency or intent, I guess. Because like this at any given time, you could be doing a million different things. It just depends on what you chose to do, right? And some people they don't intend to do anything, and so or maybe they don't know that you could do more, uh, and so they kind of peak there. But yeah, yeah. Well, so on the console, I did get involved in like Halo and stuff. And it was actually really funny by the time I got to high school, there were like stupid, rumors going around that I was like third in the world in Halo and like fourth in StarCraft or something. I don't know why these rumors came to be, but yeah, I got involved in a lot of various different games. Um, my life is definitely a lot different because of StarCraft because there was so much that you could control that it was almost like a shame to not do it, you know? Like when you like I can't play a game and just be idle. It's like impossible for me to do that because if I know that I could be doing something, I could be doing more, um then I can't be idle. I don't know. Like it's just how it is. I think so. Cuz in StarCraft like if you look at the video that's playing right now, like if I didn't build that army, I'm not going to have an army. And it sounds really obvious. Um but I think a lot of people just don't get that. Like, maybe some people just wait for the army to like appear and then they get to use it. But if you didn't build it, you don't get to use it, right? And so there's a lot of onus on me. And I've taken that kind of perspective on everything that I do. Things don't happen unless I make them happen. And a very similar story to like how I got into Highlanders. That I couldn't find a team I wanted to play, and there's more of a backstory to that. But like the only way I was able to play the game is if I made my own, and so ultimately that's just what I did. Is obvious to me that I just had to make my own, right? Oh God, no, no, not at all. I tried the one versus one scene, but like it's too hard for me when I was in high school. Um, at most, I just played casually. So I didn't get into Melee for a long time. I mostly played custom games in StarCraft. But when I got to high school, I had some friends that I found out were playing StarCraft. And at the time, they had played fastest map possible, which is essentially it's a map that removes the minimum starting distance from your town hall to your resources, so that you get income faster, and the game is just accelerated. They were playing a lot of that, and I had a little bit of experience in what's called low money. Yeah, those ones. So you can see kind of well, those are just like the starting locations, but you see how they're basically adjacent to the town hall, so you get your money a lot faster. It's just a massing game. And I did have experience with low money, so when I tried to play with them, I kind of blew everyone out of the water. But low money was still too hard for us, and like there were like four or five of us, so we couldn't play low money together. So we settled on big game hunters. The maximum players in a StarCraft game is 8. And so we could play, that's the videos you were watching, that's big game hunters. And yeah, and we could play 4 versus 4 or 3 versus 3 or whoever was available at the time. And we just played after school. That's pretty much the extent of how competitive I ever got. I got back into it around the time StarCraft Remastered came along. Just wanted to play again. It was fun. And it was a lot easier to play when I was older because I just understood things better. I don't know, like just understanding things made things a lot easier to execute because then you weren't like fumbling over things. Not only that, they added the ability to have custom hotkeys, which is honestly really good. hmm yeah, the main custom games I played. I mean, I tried all of them. I actually have like a really large library from. I think I deleted some of it, but I used to have like every custom game that I ever downloaded when I was a kid, starting from like age 8. But at some point, like I got a new computer and some of that was lost. So there are definitely larger repositories of StarCraft maps out there. Um, but yeah, I played all of them. The one that I probably most identify with is one called Snipers. So the game mode was essentially they called it Sniper Paintball. I've never played Paintball, but it's essentially a one shot, one kill with Terran ghosts, and then you have a flag. And so you could capture their flag and bring it back to your base of 15 points, or you can kill people for 1 point. And that game's still being played today because that map almost never changed, with the exception of they removed trees because the trees could block your bullets. It was kind of not good. But for the most part, yeah, the map never changed. It's still played today. And the strategy is just really evolved because the map never changed. It's actually really interesting because if everything's a one-shot kill, you kind of have to master the engine to get an advantage over the other players. Like we found out how to shoot people without any vision, like through a wall. If you can't see them, you could still shoot them. It was possible. There were all these different theories. Like for example, in StarCraft 2, it's a little different because like every unit always fires at the maximum range, but it's not true in StarCraft 1. And we're not actually sure what I say we like I'm part of that community still. They're still around. We're not actually sure what's true, but they came up with like different theories of, so if 2 ghosts attack each other, who will shoot first, right? And it's not the same time. It's not quite random. There were a couple of different theories, like angle theory. Like if you approach at a certain angle, you'd have a advantage, or like the other one was pulse theory, in that like you had a radius and it would like fluctuate between maximum range and like maximum range -1, and depending on the tick of the game, you might get the maximum range, right? And then they had a theory that, with its pulse theory, that you actually refresh the maximum range with a recent action. And so there was so much that I think if you just played like melee, like what I'm playing in this video, you wouldn't ever hear about it. That's not applicable to this kind of game, right? But when you only have one unit, it's a different ball game. So yeah, I always thought that was really interesting. We had they're called clans back in the days. It's kind of fun. I was part of a clan. Eventually, they found out that I was like a kid, but they were really accepting. Some of them were from Canada, and I did actually meet one of them one day. Yeah, even different styles of melee. So like there's people who like strictly play like defense games, and I couldn't possibly name all the different defense games, but they're like various, I don't know what you call them. They're not quite role playing games, but they're like survival games, and There actually are role play. There were role play things, which the map was essentially empty, but you were able to just like build shit and then chat with people and make up your own game. I never got into that because I was a kid. I wanted to do battle. Uh, but even within just the melee scene, like I said, there's low money, which is what you would conventionally see 1 versus 1 players playing. There's big game hunters, which is kind of in the middle. There's hunters, which is in between big game hunters and low money. There's fastest map possible. That's probably it. But yeah, there's a lot of different things. It's kind of unlike what you would see in StarCraft 2, I would say. Like if you look at StarCraft 2 now, because the map editor became that much more complex. The funny thing is that all the custom games seem to kind of converge on the same design. You know what I mean? Like tug of war style games where there's like a single lane of army and you I don't know, you kind of push the single lane, or it becomes kind of like a Dota style game, which I was actually there when as a kid playing the original MOBA Aeon of Strife. I didn't understand what was going on. There were no items you could buy, but I was there, doing my best. Yeah. It's not something I was never someone to discover anything, but other people have done the same thing um in those games, and I identify, like I can understand like why these little tricks kind of showed up, and I really admire games like that where the community kind of figures out how to play, maybe in an unintentional game design perspective. Hmm. Yeah. I had a friend once, he was at a party, and I remember, like, well, I wasn't there, but I heard the story from them. They were all drinking, and one guy, like, drunkenly said that he could defeat me in StarCraft. And then my friend, who was also drunk, like, defended the shit out of me. I thought it was really funny hearing that story. Yeah, unfortunately, TF2 kind of came a little too late for me. Like, TF2 was at, like, 2007, 2008. Like, I was almost out of. I had it on the Xbox, but obviously nobody played it on the Xbox. I didn't understand what TF2 was. I thought the game was shit because, like, I do remember like trying the game, like, oh, I'm gonna play sniper with a fucking controller, and then like I think back then you could open the other team's spawn, and so people just shot rockets into your spawn and you died. I'm like, this game is shit, and then I just never played it. And then eventually, one of my friends got me to try the orange box on the PC. Like, no, 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 it's different. I promise, it's different. And yeah, so it came a little late, but when I went on to post secondary, which is essentially like education after high school, it's what we call it in Canada. I did meet a friend who played Team Fortress 2. It was actually weird. Like he overheard me. I was trying to make friends and stuff, and I talked about, oh, I play Team Fortress 2, and he immediately turns around. He's like, TF2. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, that school did have some lands, and like I think I went once, and nobody there played TF2, and I was kind of sad. Everyone just wanted to play League, and I'm like, all right, I'm not coming to any land anymore. I don't know. I think all games uh, benefit people cognitively. It's just that it depends on the kind of game. Like I don't really play racing games, so it's hard for me to speculate on that. But like for example, like shooters, people who play shooters typically have really fast decision making. In contrast, like some people, they're very indecisive, and they never make a decision right. And it can be really frustrating. So different games have a lot of different skills in them, whether or not it's apparent or evident. Um, they are there, and I really I've grown to admire as I've come to this conclusion over all the years I've been playing games. The people who play like a lot of different games are they kind of amaze me, because like they have very interesting ways of approaching problems. The games in essence are just like problem solving, right? It's a different problem in a different scenario. Um, and they engineer some tool for you to solve those problems, and like more often than not, like these are like things that you might never encounter in real life, and so you really are thinking outside of the box. You're solving problems which don't exist. Yeah, of course. Flexibility and being able to think on your feet, that kind of thing. Being resourceful. Those are all things I think you would benefit or you would get from playing games like that. How would I what? So that one's a little complicated. I started in like 2010, 2011. Like I said, I got a friend got me into the game. Um, but shortly after that, I was actually in a car accident, which really sent me down the road of depression. I was a pedestrian, and they just blew through the crosswalk and sent me flying. Um, and it kind of reset my life. Uh, I don't know if I've talked about this that much with other people, especially in the TF2 community, but at that time, I had, I guess I had some friends in like high school and stuff, but like obviously this is after graduation, and people are starting to drift apart and whatever and do their own thing, going to different schools. At the time, I had taken a year off of school because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Um, and then I just felt like I lost all my friends all of a sudden, like combined the drifting apart combined with like the car accident. Um, yeah, I was in a really really dark place shortly after I started playing TF2. Yeah, I saw TF2 as kind of like a new way to like I said, it was like my first computer game that I was playing after StarCraft, because I'd really been only been playing like Xbox games like Halo and NHL and whatever. So to me, TF2 uh, was a way to learn something new and to make new friends. Back then, there was no like casual quick play crap. There was just community servers, and you play with the same people a lot, and you get to know people, and it was a lot of fun back then. I had a lot of time because, like I said, like I was a pedestrian in that car accident, and I was kind of injured and incapacitated. So I had all the time in the world to devote myself to learning Team Fortress 2. Oh man, I have no idea. I was late to the party. Um, yeah, there was a lot of people playing already when I got in. Sniper. It was better with a mouse and keyboard. It's obviously like it's the one. It's like the generic shooter guy, you know, like I played a little bit of Call of Duty and whatever. Like sniping was always kind of amusing to me. So it, honestly, like Team Fortress 2, the classes in the game were very different from what you would find in console shooters. And so it was really hard for me to understand like scout movement, like double jumping. You move really fast. You have a shotgun, you know, like it was hard for me to like pick those ones up. It just wasn't intuitive for me at the time. Like in from my, I guess, mental maturity or whatever. Like even like Demo Man. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, um, because I recently bought like a Tobii eye tracker, and I just wanted to see what my eyes did when I was playing different classes. So I tried some TF2 pubs and uploaded a short video with it. But I think in another world, if I had gotten into TF2 earlier and had more time, like I would have really enjoyed playing Demo Man. But back in the day, like Demo Man really frustrated me because I didn't understand like what are these weapons, you know? Like it's so hard to hit anything. I honestly never used the sticky launcher because I didn't understand what it was. Like I don't know. I never saw anyone really using it except for like people who just immediately killed me with the Kritzkrieg, just like in that video right now. And I don't know. It just wasn't something that I understood right away. But I think you know, if I had more time to play it, you know, I would have really liked Demo Man because it makes a lot of sense, you know? Like you when you think about like what you're good at and what kind of role you could fulfill in the team, like it just I don't know, it's something it's really fun about playing it. Yeah, once you understand like what do you excel at, you know, then you have a place to play, you have a place to fight. And then if you just like look for those around the maps, like things, you know, the world opens up to you. But like if you're just wandering around, like you can get punished so many ways and you wouldn't even know like why. And that was like my experience when I was new. Yeah. Yeah. Um Back then I also didn't like there weren't a lot like people there weren't people like flying through the air with the rocket jumper, like they didn't exist back then, right? And so, you know, you'd occasionally see someone who's really good, but like you didn't I never understood how rocket jumping actually worked until way later. Um yeah, I didn't understand like projectiles, surfing, any of that. Like it's a lot of that seems like a very like hidden mechanic. Um yeah, so sniper was definitely like the most obvious choice. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the game wasn't free to play back then either. You had to pay for it. Yeah. A lot of what I learned in when I was learning TF2 in the beginning, I like if you watch like a soldier frag video, if you don't know how he's making those moves, you can't copy it, but you can copy a sniper frag video. You know what I mean? Like you can just like pretend that you're doing the same thing and it'll work out most of the time, but you can't do that with like projectile classes. Hmm. Oh, for sure. There's a lot of like I mentioned like the engine tricks with like a ghost, but like there's so much more micro tricks that aren't micro is the I guess special control of your units and your army control and whatever. Um, but there are so many more tricks that you know it's not obvious. It's not obvious at all. Like someone has to tell you these things for you to ever like learn these things. And even if like there are some ways that are obviously like they're better ways to do things, but you could do it another way that's really inefficient, and you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know until someone told you. Um, so there's a lot of micro like depth of micro videos that you can see about the StarCraft and the StarCraft engine. Like for example, like floating units. Some floating units, actually, well, flying units and some floating units have the ability to like shoot while move. If your control is good enough, you can shoot while moving. So like a melee unit will like never hit that guy because you're always moving, and it's really interesting that people figure that out because like you have your move, your stop, your attack, move, your patrol, and your hold position commands, and those are just the basic commands of all units. But someone figured out that like the attack. I think I could be talking out of my ass, but like the attack move command prioritizes move first, then attack. But the patrol command prioritizes attack first, then move. And so with that little trick, you could use that to move or to shoot while moving. Oh no, no. I honestly I didn't learn how to surf anything until like UGC season 21. I think like I actually had no idea how surfing went. Any of those advanced mechanics. All I knew how to do was zoom in and click on people. What is that? Shit. I don't think that was around back then. It was too early. The most people did was back then you were able to like instead of waiting in the shot animation after you've taken a shot, you could jump and like jump crouch. So you would like people would bind that to their mouse one. So after they shot, they would just immediately jump crouch. So it's harder for people to like just shoot them when they're just standing there. That was pretty much the extent of what we had back when I was new to the game. Not a fan of StarCraft 2, honestly. It's a very different game. It's like if you've played StarCraft 1, uh, like I said, it's more of a real time game than it is a strategy game because it's so hard to do anything, and there's only so much you could do at any given time. But what they did in StarCraft 2 is they made it easier to do all these things because all of these things were streamlined, and so you kind of I guess you raise the skill floor by making it easier, and it's at the same time, it's also like a lot easier for people to get into, because they don't have to fight the controls or anything. But to me, like that was the fun, it was the fun of trying to to do as much as I could rather than play rock paper scissors. It's the equivalent of like taking fitness out of a sport. Yeah, and so what they had to do is they gave like most units like some ability. which because you have to like give them something to do, otherwise it doesn't feel like StarCraft, right? So every unit like got an ability, um, and then you just had to like make the correct units. I don't know. I just never I was never a fan of that kind of game design. But maybe if I were like if I never played StarCraft 1 and then I got into StarCraft 2, I might enjoy that kind of thing. But yeah, the mechanical aspect of StarCraft 1 is what really made me like it. Yeah, everything that I learned to do, all of the actions per minute that I practice on and whatever, like those were things that I did to get better at the game, and when I succeeded, at the end of it, like that was my advantage over other players. Most people can't do that. Oh, of course, especially with how the engine works. That's one of the reasons why I really didn't like Overwatch either, because like the skill was inherently removed from the player and put into the class or hero or whatever you want to call it in Overwatch, right? Like if you played like Pharah, you just like what was it? You press shift and you go flying. Like, I don't know. That's really boring game design to me. Whereas like in TF2, like any class can surf projectile damage, which I thought is really cool because like if a soldier gets on, if you're playing sniper and a soldier gets on you, you have an opportunity to use your skill to surf the damage to escape. But like in something like Overwatch, like the way I felt about it is if you fought against something that was better, like your counter, there was nothing you could do. You just lost. Yeah. Yeah, I really like the class design in TF2. Could you repeat that question? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start with the different races in StarCraft. So you have the three races: Terran, Zerg, and Protoss. Fundamentally, when you play a game of StarCraft, uh, map control is determined by who has the faster army. Because anywhere you can go, they can get there faster, and then they will have a terrain advantage because they're faster than you. And so it makes it really hard for you to uh, maneuver. Um, Typically, Zerg is fast. Like I play Terran, so like Zerg and Protoss are actually both faster than Terran. So Terran becomes a really like defensively heavy kind of but hard to kill race. It's a very different playstyle from when you're playing the other ones who are free to pressure you with their speed and their tech. Um, how would I relate that to TF2? Uh, that would have to do less with the class composition and more like the player tendencies, I think. But that would require like extensive knowledge of like all the players on the other team to know where you can take advantage of and what you can't. Um, I guess I could have like some teams that we scrimmed a lot. You get to learn their tendencies and stuff. And there were some teams that were like they would give me some areas for free, or they played really passive, and like I would definitely abuse that when I could. But it's hard to, people like have subs and they ring people and whatever. Like it's always going to be a little bit different. So it's not something you can really consistently take advantage of. I feel at least I couldn't. I don't think that's something that's particularly part of just StarCraft. I think that's something that you could develop just from playing only TF2. Um, yeah, the biggest thing that I think that I got from StarCraft, I guess, if you've ever heard me play or watched me play or like talk to anyone who's played with me, I might be like the only sniper who's used their microphone, and that's something that I think I got from RTS games. Because if you think about Highlander in terms of StarCraft, you would have, or in any RTS, you would have 9 units on the field, and because they're under your possession, you have vision and like up to date knowledge of what's going on around those units because they have their own vision. But in TF2, like you could have 9 players throughout the map, and if they're not using their microphones, you don't know shit about what they know, right? And so like one of the things I always tried to do is I tried to put information in the air, whatever I could see that I thought might be useful for people to know. Because I had the ability to see things, I put that information in the air. And I tried to encourage people to do the same thing because like we need the information. The information wins games, right? And especially more accurate information. If you can get your team to act on it, timing is also really important. So like, there's a lot of, it, it was just really important for me to I think try to grow that kind of culture on Second Wind. Yeah, because people who don't play, uh, I don't know if it's just RTS games, but like it seems really obvious when we're talking about it. Like if you controlled those units, you would see everything. I know you have a couple of hours in NS2, but similar thing when you play Marines there. If you have teammates around the map, you could open your map key, and then you can see what they see. You can get information just from having them have presence on the map. But I think it's not very obvious to people who they don't realize that they have valuable information, so they just don't say anything or it's wrong or they fail to communicate it or whatever. So yeah, it totally does. I know I played briefly with Demento, and like he was a spy. Yeah, I think he still plays, but he calmed a lot, and it was actually amazing because now we had both pick classes like calming, and we just had better information to make better decisions. Like it just makes the world difference. I know I've been talking to a lot of my old second win teammates, but all of them will probably tell you if you talk to them, they wish their snipers speak because I kind of set the bar pretty high. It's not even about calming information, but like telling them what you're doing or what you intend to do allows other players to play with you to sync up to you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let me set the scene here. I had graduated from my post secondary education, and I had been having trouble like I guess getting my career off the floor. And in a lot of ways, like I felt like I was just unlucky. But eventually, there was a government job that I applied to, and there were like multiple stages of the interview process. I made it to like the third or the fourth, I guess, stage in, and I failed. And this was like a huge ego shock, right? Like, I thought I totally thought I had it because I thought the interviews and stuff and all the written tests they went really well, but um, I was able to ask them for feedback and why did I why did I fail? And they told me we don't think you have the teamwork skills uh, for this job, and that like I'd played a little bit of soccer on a team. I'd worked at McDonald's for 4 years, and I'm pretty good with people, I think. And it was such a shock to me that was like that. I thought that was a strength of mine, um, and it ended up costing me that job opportunity. And so I saw that as an opportunity to like to change because it had been like very, very bad, like trying to find a job after graduation. Uh, it couldn't just be luck, Uh, I wanted to take a little bit of responsibility for that, and so I had wanted to work on my teamwork skills. Now, previously, I did play a little bit of Highlander. I did play like season 8 a little bit with 9 in a million. I played a little bit when I was able to. My school schedule aligned with it. I roster rode on Reddit West 2 in season 6 or something like that. Yeah, my schedule did not allow me to play, but yeah. So to me, it was like I had already been playing a lot of Team Fortress 2, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try to get back into Highlander, right? And it kind of made sense, and this was around the time when the competitive uh, update happened with the shitty 6v6 matchmaking and whatever. Yeah, it was bad, but it sparked my interest because like, oh, this kind of works out, right? Um, UGC was still a thing, so I went on there, and I wanted to get back into sniping, just to meet new people, try to figure out where I went wrong, and yeah, so that was season 19. Um, I didn't know the fuck I was getting into. I just made an LFT post. I was looking for teams in like steel and silver, and to my surprise, I did really well in like all my tryouts. Uh, I actually made a frag video about my tryouts. It's really cringe. Don't watch it. But I thought I deserved a spot somewhere. But again, like no team in steel or silver picked me up, with the exception of one team that like saw my potential and like, um, no, it's way too far. You get to go. It's called Sovereign LFT. So if you just like search for LFT, you'll find it. Oh, there it is. It's cringe. Yeah, great game. That one's not cringe. But yeah, so it kind of played more into the idea that like maybe there's something wrong with me, like my personality or something. If I did really well in a lot of these scrims, without really understanding how Highlander worked, how could I not find a team at Steel? Um, so yeah, I ended up figuring that, the only way I'm going to be able to play a game is making my own team, and like I talked to Moondoggy, who was one of my old teammates from 9 in a Million. We had been friends that whole time, as well as Reger, who was my demo, who would become my demo. He was a friend of mine from Reddit West 2, and I asked them, "You guys want to play Highlander?" And it turns out they did. Oh, I did forgot to tell that story. Yeah, so there was one team that like saw my potential and like wanted to pick me up, and then the demo was the leader, and then he challenged me to like MGE demo versus sniper, and I beat him, and he uninstalled the game. The team died, so it was. I don't know why that's part of my history, but it is. So yeah, I didn't get to play in season 19, and then I ended up making Second Wind. The team name of Second Wind was very much, it was very fitting because like it was my return to Highlander, it was Moondoggy's return to Highlander, and like I was in a rough spot. I think Reger was also in a transitional phase of his life, and we both thought that it was going to be like something interesting and kind of spice things up. One of my real life friends, he came up with our tag 2W. I don't even know what I wanted the tag to be, but he said 2W. I'm like, that's it. It's right there. Yeah. So essentially, Highlander was just supposed to be for me my own personal growth. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Like I couldn't imagine leading would be that difficult, But to me, it was just like this is just the only way I can play, and I was gonna do it. And I got Moondoggy and Reger to sign up with me, and yeah, it was just the beginnings of a team. Oh, and that team that died, I think I tried to like pick up some of those players. I don't remember if any of them actually made it to the team though. Hmm. Yeah, season 20, we went into silver. I never went to. I don't remember why. I don't know if that was our decision or the league's decision, but yeah, we went to silver in the beginning of season 20. I was so like I didn't know anything back then, dude. I actually used the forums, and I was just uh, the medic that I picked up. He had drunkenly posted an LFT once, and he didn't even know that he did it. And I just added him. I'm like, hey, you want to play medic? Because I didn't know who was good or what was good or who these people were. Like I was just trying to fill out the roster, right? So our roster in season 20 was very much like a ragtag bunch of people. And what I would discover is that like my social skills were definitely lacking. Like I didn't. The funny thing is like Moondoggy and Reger were longtime friends of mine, but they're actually like a year or something, maybe a year or two older than me. And so I thought everyone was going to be like my age. I thought everyone was just going to be like me. I thought I was the default. And then, as I recruited people, I had some people who were like 30, some people were like in middle school or whatever. Like I had no idea how to even interact with people like that. And it was just a challenge like every season. I got a little better at it as I got more experience, but initially like I just didn't know like how do I communicate, Yeah, I wasn't actually doing anything with my life at the time, honestly. Like I was just in between jobs. I ended up finding one of my friends from another job that was like they laid me off because seasonal work and whatever. they laid me off, and then a friend from that job got me a casual government job. I was hoping to use that one to get in full time eventually, and so that's pretty much what I was doing that whole time when I was playing Highlander. I was just working this government job and working on my team skills, getting experience leading and whatever. Oh, definitely in the beginning. Like like even just like trying to form the roster, like I don't know, I kind of felt like there's like some sort of etiquette that was going on that was not written, about how the forums worked, how people kind of interacted with each other. Like I did what I thought I was supposed to do, and then you know people didn't like it or whatever, right? Like there was a lot of tiptoeing around that I had to learn as I went. Um, yeah. Throughout the time that I played in Second Wind, the there was a problem with teams winning divisions. So season 20, I think there was a gold season, but season 21 they removed gold, and it was just steel, silver, platinum. I don't know if it was iron, um, but teams would win, and then they would die, and then try to win the same division again. Like all those players just went back to like silver or whatever. Um, and as one of the teams that actually survived to move up after we won in season 21, I wanted to try to give back a little bit because I didn't think that what we had done was special. I just didn't understand why people would, not survive. But I know like a lot of people, a lot of teams, even before they win the division, they die midway through the season. Um, and I don't know. I just wanted to kind of help out. Um, I don't know. Yeah. I think I just wanted to like share my knowledge, like all the experiences, just like I'm doing right now. Like I just, maybe someone would benefit, and if even one person benefits, then maybe it was worth it. Oh, each part. Oh well, it really started early on, especially during like the initial tryouts of season 20 when I was still forming the team. I realized like people can't even show up on time. I heard that's still a problem today. Like people have no concept of time. Maybe it's immaturity or whatever, but like I don't know. Like I I think people who actually want to get stuff done, they gravitate towards stability, and like that was the main like in season 20. Like my main goal, I think, is probably just I didn't want the team to die, and I didn't know what I was doing, so all I wanted to do was just live. Like I wanted to set fixed times, and everyone knows what they're doing, when to show up, and that kind of thing. I tried to get all the resources as possible so that we had like uh, a chance to we don't get stuck and just disband or whatever. Like I really didn't know what I was getting into, so I just tried to account for everything. Um, the spreadsheet. I'm not actually sure when I made the spreadsheet. I want to say I made that in season 20. I must have. There have been multiple iterations of it. But this essentially is just a tool that I used. You can ignore the birthdays. I thought it was a nice gesture to get to know everybody, get their birthdays. I still nickname people with their birthdays on Steam, so that I can wish them happy birthday. In my time zone, it's still the 15th, so happy birthday, Daffodil. But yeah. So the way this works, in the event that I'm not there, someone could use the spreadsheet to take over for a day or a weekend or whatever. And it's really, maybe I wouldn't say simple, but like the function is obvious. And so you see like Fallen Lords listed here on Scout. This is from RGL season 4. If you didn't have him added to your friends list for whatever reason, you can click on that and it goes straight to his Steam page and you can add him. If you needed to quickly like shuffle the roster, I asked people for what classes they're comfortable playing, and so you go from 1 through 9, you put it in that box there, and then if you go to the tables, yeah, and so you see under the header of like Scout, Soldier, Pyro, Demo, and they're color coded. So grays are the mains, reds are the subs, purple I think is ringers, and then aqua or whatever that's tryouts. So the way I did it is if you put a 1 in that class box, your name would appear on this list for Scout. And then if you go to the schedule, you'll see the classes there. You can't click on it because you don't have edit permissions. But if you click, it's actually a drop down list. And so for Scout, it'll show you everyone who said they could play Scout. And for Soldier, it will show you everyone who said they can play Soldier. And then you see that quick guide in the top right. Once you've filled out your the schedule, who you're playing against, and whatever, if the scrim is scheduled and whatnot, and you can select which see it says engineer. It's actually a drop down. You can select which class, and so you could just take that whole thing and copy and paste it and send it to your tryouts or whatever, or whoever was maybe unfamiliar with the team schedule, and just hey, you're playing against this team, and this is the time you're playing at, this is the class you're on, that kind of thing. Yeah, it was definitely overkill. Like it didn't need to be like that, but I wanted to make things easier for myself because I just didn't know what I was getting myself into. And by the way, like I wasn't good at Excel before I came to leading. I learned how to do this middle of the season. So anyone can actually just do this. Yeah, yeah. I was extremely cautious, and it worked in my favor. And like I said, like people want stability, and like if you have a leader that seems like they're on top of things, then you're gonna have a lot more confidence in them, right? You're not gonna start looking elsewhere. Oh God, no, that was cringe. This video never actually came to be, but I think what we wanted to do the season that we won silver, we wanted to make a little highlight show, and it never happened because it's way too much because you go parsing through everyone's fucking demos is no, we're not doing that. This was just a for fun thing. These aren't real. I made some like pseudo math thing if you scroll to the right. But essentially, like I wanted to kind of not call people out, but I wanted a way to show people what I think they can work on and what their strengths are. But in the end, it was just a meme. It was kind of fun. I got to joke with Markers a lot about how he's 88 overall or whatever he is, 89. But yeah, no, this is definitely it's just a for fun thing that I was doing with Daff one day. Not serious. Not at all. What the hell? Why is your name there? Did you try it for me? Oh. Damn. Yeah, I definitely didn't need to do this. Um, it was in the event that I wasn't there. Like I know a lot of people. Like anytime they ask me any questions, I just told them look at the spreadsheet, and it was kind of a meme on the team that I would just deflect everything and say look at the spreadsheet. But it was also on me to keep it updated. Um, but the days that I wasn't there, like I'm sure people can attest if they ever took over. Zoey handled this, I think. I think Zoey handled this in RGL season 4 because I didn't want to lead. So he took over this. Maybe he can attest to the how the spreadsheet worked. I don't know. Oh, really? Yeah, it's. I think it's really important because like some people play sixes. Like you see, Exile. He's busy because he's playing sixes. Um, some people live in different time zones. Like I did have an engineer who played from Europe. He was in England, and so I needed to like I didn't want to have to convert his time zone every time. Like I didn't want to ask him because if I didn't write this down and I needed to know something, I would be asking at minimum 8 players what their schedule is, And so like in general, this was really handy. Um, I had it on older sheets as well, like for previous seasons. But like some people had like maybe their parents are divorced and he goes to his dad's house every other weekend or whatever, right? Like so these little things just it's nice that it's documented somewhere in the event someone needs to know and it's kind of there. Yeah. Uh well we kind of went through reliability, showed the schedule. Actually regularly socializing with all players. That's apparently really big and that's if you talk to any of the players on second win, like some of them are like I think most people are a little bit introverted and they're kind of socially anxious and whatever and they don't integrate well into groups, but like just having the leader reach out to you and like send you a meme or something like that, like that goes a long way. It makes them feel included, and makes them feel a part of something. And I tried to do that with all my players, even my subs. um yeah, and a lot of people, they really enjoyed their time on second win, whether they were short or long because I went out of my way to do that. Because some people are just there; they're not there to win; they're there to make friends, right? Yeah, and then being transparent. That's basically like I said. I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just asking everyone what I should do in the beginning of it. Um, but I always wanted to keep everyone on the same page because, like why wouldn't you? Why does it need to be a secret? Yeah, let them be involved. Let them feel included, like they're part of something. But that said, like if I was doing something, I'm not going to message every player on the roster, even the subs. But like people who are relevant to the whatever it was. Um, I always thought it was important. Uh, standards. So I think I had a very particular vision of what kind of team I wanted. And maybe it was a little bit old school, I don't know, but like I don't know, it just kind of made sense. Like again, it comes back to like having stability on the team. If there are no standards, you don't know what to expect of anyone on your roster, whether or not they're even going to show up. Maybe they're playing World of Tanks all day, you know, like I don't know. So yeah, I was very critical, especially later. Not in the beginning because I didn't know any better, but later on, I was very critical of people in their tryouts if they didn't seem mature enough to be on the team, if they didn't seem like they'd be a good fit, or personality wise, or maybe they were being creepy or whatever, right? Like I tried to do my best to filter that, um, and I would hold people to that even if they made the team. Like I actually invented. I'm pretty sure I invented this, but like if you've ever seen like the leader like Steam call or Snapchat call people who are late for scrims and stuff, like I'm pretty sure I started that. Um, I think Alto he has a screenshot. He's named his Crusaders crossbow like Snapchat calling Fallen Lord, and because of that, Fallen Lord like turned off notifications in Snapchat because we kept doing it to him. Yeah, one of my favorite stories about that is like Moondoggy he likes to see movies and sometimes he'd forget to tell me, and so we'd be waiting for him to get into Mumble, and like because he's Canadian, I have free calling in Canada, and so I'd call his cell phone, and I'd put him on speakerphone, and I'd be like, Moondoggy, where are you? It's like, oh shit, we have scrims. Just tell everyone I died. I'm like, you're on speaker. He's like, oh, and then you like scream and fucking just hang up, and it's like, man, what a guy. But yeah, I don't know. People, it's a good way of getting people to understand what you expect of them as well. And if they're not willing to like, work with what works with the rest of the team, then they're not going to be a good fit. So, um, yeah. Uh, Ultimately, like, there's no way around it. Like, you need to be ready to cut players if they're not a good fit for the team, and recognizing that can be really recognizing who needs to be cut rather can be really hit or miss. And there's no way to. You just have to have experience, I guess. Like in the beginning, in season 20, we made like a couple of cuts, but I didn't know like whether or not it was a good decision to cut these players or not. It was mostly like what other people on the team said, and I would just trust it. Um, and it feels bad looking back on because yeah, it's just a really uninformed decision that I had to go through with, and it's never going to be easy. It's always going to be really awkward to have to call them into Mumble or whatever and like have a one-on-one talk with them. Yeah, it's hard to deliver and it's hard to receive, but it has to be done. Towards like later seasons, as I got more experienced, it became a little bit more justifiable. I'd have an understanding of like why we needed to make changes. Um, I think cutting players is probably better than having people randomly quit the team without telling you. Because then at least you know what's coming. Because there were a number of times people just quit the team, or that they just like ghosted me, and I was like, "Oh shit! Like, the fuck!" Like, yeah, um, yeah. It's not something that I think you'll ever enjoy doing, but it's part of what you're deciding to do when you're leading. Yeah, so I mentioned there, like, uh, first, the disruptive player in question should be made aware of the problem. Like, to bring it up without cutting them, like, give them an opportunity to change. Um, I think that's something everyone deserves. But if they don't, then it's perfectly within your right to remove them. Hmm. Which two things? I think, like I said, I used to socialize with everyone on the team, and just reaching out that one time, it's like opening the door, and the door stays open, but like it's harder to middle of the season, if you've never spoken to these people, right? It's hard to just spontaneously do something. But if everyone is like used to each other hanging out and mumble and whatever, it's just, I don't know, it's a lot easier to do. Um, oh, one of the things, actually, Moondoggy was better at this than I was in the beginning. Um, he kind of used our team as like makeshift group of people he can do whatever he wants with, like these random CS:GO workshop co-op missions. He's the one who started that. I know we did one like last week, or we started one last week, but he started that because he's just like, he needed people to play with, and he just like called a bunch of people into Mumble. Um, and then I kind of learned from that. I would try to, well, later on we started doing like anime nights and whatever. Early on I tried to play pubs with people. I wasn't much of a pugger, or one who played lobbies or anything. I didn't really do any of that. Um, so yeah, I just invite people to do stuff with me. Yeah, I think it has to start there. I know a lot of people are really introverted, and like I am too. This was not easy for me to do. Like I said, I learned a lot from Moondoggy and how he was just like shamelessly friendly, and it was something that I kind of wanted to do as well. Um, I think team anime. I think we just watched movies starting in season 22 or something like that. But it was just like, hey, you watch anime? There was these things that none of us had seen, and we just decided to start doing stuff like that. Team surveys is something that I brought in season 22, and I think that one really got people to, at the very least, be familiar with who's on the team, right? Because so the way I did team surveys is that, I have a handful of serious questions there for like actual feedback and how people feel about certain maps and whatever. Um, but the second half of the survey was always for fun, and you got to vote for each other for stupid categories like best memes. Um, but I gave everyone 2 votes, so you could vote for yourself, and then you could throw away your vote for like someone, random. It's just fun to see like what the outcome was, because like at the end of the day, like no matter what the outcome is, like I would post whoever won like certain accolades and whatever on people's profiles, and like if you look around people's who were on second win around those times, they're still there. That comment is still. If they ever want anything, even like best ringer was one. Uh, it's still on their profiles, which I think is really cool. Uh, well, if you're referring to the guide, I think people don't read it. It's a lot of words. To be fair, like I really think that people just like look at it and like, oh, it's too much. Leading is also a lot of work. Anyone who has led will tell you don't do it, because it's really thankless, to be honest. Um, and the other reason I think people don't really have like role models. You know, like they've never seen a good leader. I think it just comes down to expectations. Some people, I don't know if you guys still do. I guess yeah, the summer season's still going on right now, but like some people would not have school in the summer, right? And so they're just looking to play in the summer, and then they roster ride for the other seasons and whatever, right? Like they don't care about that kind of thing. But like I said, like for me, this was a personal goal for me to improve my teamwork skills. Not necessarily lead. I wasn't that interested in leading, but it was something that I had to do. So in order to improve my teamwork skills, like I had to be good at this, you know. I don't even know if I was good at this. Like that's just, you know, my team lived. That's the bar. Hmm. Oh god, no. Things I thought I wasn't right on? Not really. Um I was only able to write on the things that I did. Like I was never part of like a really winning culture, so like you know the growth and development section's kind of barren. But I don't know. It's not really anything I can add to this. You can do as much as you want to do, or as little as you want to do. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah, the resources are there. There's people to talk to if you wanted to actually you know try leading a good team and stuff. But if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. Yeah, like I said, like I listed here, if you go to the goals section, it's really important to have goals, and people who join the team need to understand and align with these goals. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, season 20, like that was the first season that I led. Like, and like I've been saying, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know who was good. I just picked up people who had an LFT. If you had an LFT on the forums, I probably approached you to join my team. um, but yeah, like once we got more experience, we were able to set like actual goals because we did want to improve. Um, yeah, and winning is always more enjoyable than losing. Uh I can't claim to have that kind of foresight, to be honest. Like in the beginning, I was just looking for a warm body, to be honest. And later on, I was just looking for someone who was going to perform. At the very least, at everyone else's expectations, right? Uh, yeah, it's really hard. I don't think I did interviews or anything. Try to gauge people. I think I might have done it once, and then I was like, I don't fucking know what I'm asking these people, so like I didn't do it ever again. But when you interact with them, like just chatting in Steam, or when you do the tryout, like you can kind of gauge what kind of person they are, what they're looking for, and it never hurts to just ask them. Um, and from that, you can kind of figure out how devoted are they going to be to improving and whatever. Scrims are actually really good at evaluating like people's characters, I guess. Hmm. Hmm. Not so much on the guide, but I can talk about like the actual experiences of leading these teams or throughout the various seasons. Um, yeah. So as I mentioned, like season 20, like it was really interesting for me because I had no idea what I was getting into. I didn't know how to socialize with these people. And Moondoggy really took over with that one. But at the very least, we had a really solid core of the team. I mentioned in the guide there that like I felt that Demo and Sniper are probably the most important on the team, because they're big problem solvers. But with Moondoggy, we had like the ultimate trifecta. It was actually really nice. Um, just our play styles really meshed with each other. Uh, but yeah, we around the three of us, I just filled in warm bodies. Um, it was really rough. Like juggling, I was not experienced in Highlander. I didn't know how to fucking play. I didn't know what the metas were, what everyone's job was, and so at the time, like I was, in terms of growth, like I was juggling too much. There were so many team problems that we had, roster issues, people's performance. I didn't know how to deal with any of that, and a lot of the times I was asking people who also didn't know, and they were just like feeding me information that was wrong. To try to get better, I know you like to talk about mentoring. I did attempt to acquire mentors for Sniper because I didn't know how to play the game. I didn't know how to play all these maps. Like Borneo, like I played that in pubs, but like I didn't know how it worked in a 9v9 scenario, right? The first person I added for mentoring was actually Zoey, and it's actually really funny. I make fun of him for it, but when I first added him, we talked a little bit. I helped him set up his Twitch stream, and then he removed me. And we never once discussed sniping. It's a big feels bad. And then after that, I think at the time, someone recommended me akemi. And if anyone knows akemi, it's a bad time. And I didn't know any better, right? And so like we would go to like Borneo or whatever, and he would like you just show me sight lines. You just like, yo, look at this, check out this sight line. And that was it. Like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know what to expect in the game. Um and then if we did like demo reviews, at the back or at this time I used to stream uh my scrims and shit. And we would watch my scrims so we could see the comms or hear the comms and everything. And like they weren't useful. Like I didn't learn anything, you know? Like he would just be like, bro, your team sucks. You should get a new team. But I didn't know, like I believed it, you know? I just thought, okay, I'm fine. You know, I just have to improve the team next season. And I honestly don't think I improved at all in season 20. I mean, I got kind of a little bit more familiar with how the game works, but like my own personal skill, like I don't think improved. I just in season 21 I made the team better. One of the biggest challenges that we had in season 20, I don't know if you know who Malent is, but he actually passed away. Yeah, he's a really old school player in TF2, especially in the UGC scene. He passed away, and that happened, I don't know, maybe December or something like that of season 20. It was on the time we were entering playoffs, and for a lot of us, like we had some young people on the team, like none of us knew how to handle that, you know. It's the death of someone who, you know, we might not have known him for very long, but it's still someone like you talked to recently, you know, like it kind of rocked us. I still remember the day that we found out. It wasn't even me that found it. I was in Mumble, like just hanging out with people, and we were talking about, you know, how, oh, I wonder where Malent is. He hasn't been on in a while. You know, we kind of wanted him to see if he can ring for this game or whatever. And a teammate went to his profile and he was like, "Did Malent die?" And I was like, "What?" Like my stomach sank, and it still feels bad like when I remember that now. Like if you look at the comments on his profile, like we couldn't believe it. Like they looked very genuine, and he hadn't been online for a long time. I do remember I had to break the news to everybody. I don't remember what I said, but like it was rough on everybody. You know, like, hey, you know, Malent passed away. Like, what do you do? You know, like there were a lot of people who were like still in high school. How do you break that to them? It was really rough. But I think one of the most beautiful things that 2W ever did was this was as we were entering playoffs that season, and we tried to honor him in the way that we knew how. The game that brought us all together, a Highlander, we tried to, you know, so our tag was 2W, and so we flipped the W and capitalized it to represent Malent, so it was 2M in the playoffs, and we tried to win him, you know, like a one last medal or whatever. And that became a tradition throughout every season of 2W, because on UGC, like we didn't remove him from the roster. Like the roster limit was 21, and we kept Malent on there. So every season we actually only had like 20 roster slots. And every season, if we made the playoffs, in the playoffs we take up as 2M. If we didn't, then the last regular season game we tagged up as 2M. And it was just a really nice gesture that even like people who didn't know Malent and people who like historically don't tag up for, you know, they just don't put the tag in their name, they would still tag up for 2M because it was a very serious thing, right? And I think it was really one of the more beautiful things about experiencing 2W. I do have a log about so the team, I believe the team we played in the playoffs, I don't actually remember how many playoff games we played, but the team that ultimately eliminated us, they went on to like be second, I think, or maybe they won, I don't know. They were hands down predicted to be like the winner. And we picked like Millstone, and then they picked Product, and then it was Asheville. And we lost Millstone, but to everyone's surprise, we took Product from them. I don't know. Here's a log. I'll put it in Discord. But I don't know if you ever looked at the True TF2 subreddit. I don't know if that's still a thing, but yeah, we used to have those weekly "How did your match go" things. And I had posted there, like, the passing of Malent, and I guess the story that we had, because no one understood why are we 2M now, like everyone kind of wondered. But we got a lot of nice words, especially from the people from the other team, saying that, hey, you guys played out of your minds, I'm sorry for your loss, that kind of thing. And that was like I don't know, it was really warm, feeling, or yeah, it's just a really warm interaction between two teams that didn't really interact or know each other. Oh, Blake's on that team. I know you interviewed him. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was something we came across in our first season leading. It was a really interesting experience. Yeah. Um. But yeah, going forward, I think after just that whole experience, uh, I kind of understood, like, well, initially, so after season 20, like, we placed in fourth that season, and we were like, oh, okay, maybe the gold died. I had intended to maybe try to get us into gold, but gold died. Um, and then I was like, oh, maybe we can play in platinum. So I put up an LFP, and like we were being like gate kept, like they were just telling us, oh, you didn't even win your division. Why would you come to platinum, right? Like nobody would even try out for us, and so it kind of became our goal to try to win our division, and try to try to do better than fourth, because like we got fourth with a bunch of ragtag people from UGC forums. I didn't even like vet any of them. I just contacted random people who had an LFT, and that was it. But going to season 21, we had a much clearer goal. I want to use this opportunity to actually shout out Jarrett. And so Jarrett from K&D, we actually had him as a mentor for, I think since the beginning. Some of the players on our team were longtime, like old friends of Jarrett, and he was willing to help mentor us and stuff. And he was always like very, very, very nice guy. He had he had a lot of knowledge. He's like super respectful. Like, I think it's really easy if someone's like, kind of above you in status or experience or skill or whatever. It's really easy to be dismissive of people who are beneath you, but he was never like that with us. He was always very patient. He made the time for us. He answered a lot of questions that I had. And he was even like willing to just chat about random things. Uh, I remember buying him some games just because like he was so nice to us. I bought him some games, and he actually played them. I know that's really uncommon. You buy people games and they don't even like launch them even once. But yeah, Jarrett actually beat the games I bought him, and I always thought that was really cool. But yeah, having Jarrett as a mentor, I think it really helped in the long term. A lot of the things that he did, like the things he would sell us, I think most of our team wasn't ready to hear it. Like he would explain concepts that were just above us. But for the people that understood it, long term, it was really good for us. And he remained our mentor for pretty much the whole time, I think. And anytime I had a question, especially later, like once I started to understand the game more, I'd come to him with more and more questions. I'd ask him to review things with the team, with me, and he was always willing to help. And yeah, a lot of respect for Jarrett. Anyways, so yeah, going into season 21, we were trying to gear up to win. Fourth wasn't good enough for us, and unfortunately, that meant a lot of our players that we had in season 20, they weren't maybe weren't good enough to to meet those expectations. Some of them stepped down because they didn't think they were good enough, and some of them were, unfortunately, they had to receive some unfortunate news. And so that was always a really tough thing. I think a lot of feelings were hurt after that, after that off season. But I think the most important pickup that we had that season after revamping our roster was probably Vryktion. And I think you had him on your list for a future interview, possibly, Mr. Coach Bucks himself. He's probably the most instrumental pickup we had in season 21. Spoiler alert: we won silver that season, but like he was. It's not like he was a phenomenal player or anything, but he is the one who elevated our play. He was very blunt in his words, but it was a lot of no bullshit. And every time then that we were like starting to devolve into what he would call silver players, he would he'd call us out. Like, he'd tell us what we're doing is stupid, or you should not do that. Like it was very subtle, but like he kind of molded our team to be better, to rise to the next level. And he didn't need to do that. Like we were kind of hoping that he would join our team. He didn't need to play. He could have, done whatever he wanted, but I think he wanted to see us succeed. But yeah. Season 21 on the whole, leadership wise, it was a lot smoother sailing than the other seasons, or the other season was, because our team actually ended up being pretty good skill wise. I didn't need to worry about like people's performance or people showing up on time. Like I think at that point people kind of got the idea of like the structure the foundation that I had laid out. But as a result, I was actually able to learn more about Highlander, like as a player. Because like I said in season 20, I don't think I improved like at all. I got a little bit acclimated, but I wasn't good, and having a strong enough team that I didn't have to worry about dying or chase people to do this and whatever, it really helped give me the freedom to improve. So one of the things at the end of season 20 that I really wanted to work on was my consistency. My aim was not that good. I played with a really high sensitivity back then, and I changed mice and everything, changed my sensitivity. I was practicing or grinding my aim and whatever. And then I went into season 21, and like my aim was a little better, but I still wasn't a good player. And I think I was just playing with better people around me. And so we kind of came out of the gate really hot in season 21. And then eventually there was, a week that I honestly got dumpstered on. And it really shot my confidence for a period of like three weeks, actually. I still need a log here. This is a game where I can honestly say Blake is actually one of the players in this, and they even had two different snipers, and both of them dunked on me. So it was Blake and Vaxi. Yeah, we lost this game, and like it was a really long game. You see, it went 4-3, and this was our first loss in silver that season. Everyone predicted us to win, and I fully believed that it was my fault we lost. And this was like crushing for me, right? But it was a really good wake up call, because I realized like I didn't really, like I hadn't become good yet. I was just on a better team. And this, as sniper mains do, this turned into changing my crosshair every day, changing my mice, my sensitivity. Like I thought it was all about my aim, and the following map was steel, so I wasn't really all that important at that time in silver. And then after that, it was process, and like I did literally nothing in process as well. I don't think I have that log handy, but just take my word for it. Like I didn't perform the following 2 weeks after Lakeside at all. And on the topic of mentoring, I never really found a mentor after Akemi, given how useless it was. But I did attempt to do some demo reviews with players that, like my peers. And there was one player in particular that gave me some really good advice. It just clicked. And it was KootyKat. I watched one of my process scrim demos with her, and like I didn't understand why I wasn't doing well. You know, it was just everything was going wrong. Like I wasn't making any good decisions. I wasn't hitting any shots. Like I was just so lost. And like she asked me, like we paused the demo and she asked me, like, what are you doing? What are you trying to do here? What are you looking at? You're not focusing on anything. You're just getting distracted by everything. And like those words were exactly what I needed to hear to understand like why I wasn't performing. And it just clicked. I started to think more. I started to focus more. And if you actually look at, I know logs aren't really indicative of the whole story, but if you look at like all the match logs following that week, I consistently had like a kill assist death ratio of over 2. With the exception of one, there was one like combined log where I had like 1.8 or whatever. But like those words were all I needed to hear to finally figure out how to play. And I wasn't good immediately, but like it was the start of something amazing, right? Season 21 was very much a growth year for me as a player. Leading wise, it was very uneventful, I think. Other than, okay, so people are going to meme on me because we had, so Dockify, he couldn't play anymore because his schedule didn't work out. And then people will remember we had a player on our team as a scout named Gary, who ended up getting banned for like smurfing. Spoiler, it was Pablo. But like I didn't know who Pablo was, okay? Like I'm dead serious. I had no idea who Pablo was. It was Vryktion that was like, yo, I know a guy. Let's try him out. And I genuinely, dude, I genuinely believed he was just some player that Vryktion met in a pub. Like it like it was definitely an alt. So like Gary or Pablo was like never on that account. But when he was on, I would talk to him. I'd talk to him and be like, hey, so the next map is this. Do you know how to play this map? You know, do you need some help? Like I genuinely believed he was new. And it's so cringe. Eventually, yeah, he did get banned, and the UGC admins did not penalize the team because I think they knew. I didn't know who the fuck Pablo was. But I think every team in UGC like hated us because they didn't think I didn't know who Pablo was. They just thought I was like a fucking snake player, you know, fucking having Pablo's alt on my team. It's very unfortunate. But yeah, following Gary. I don't remember the exact details, but I'm pretty sure Vryktion got Rain to join our team. And if you know who Rain is, Rain's like a really big fragger. And that kind of solidified our roster for the remainder of the season. Mm-hmm. Say that again? Did I play with Funny Bunny? The name sounds familiar. I don't know. Oh, really? Do you have the player on your roster the whole time? Yeah. Dude, they're sneaky. Yeah. Yeah, dude, Vryktion like never told me anything, and then when everything was found out, he just laughed about it. Like I was like, "Fuck, man! Like, the fuck is Pablo?" Oh, it feels bad. Yeah. So yeah, after that we picked up Rain, and then so during the season, we did actually have 2 rivals that I kind of wanted to touch on, because I think team rivalries are always really interesting. One was Crit Sandwich, and I want to explain the backstory behind this. I'm going to send you a video. You can play it in the background. but don't play it yet. I just want to explain the background first. So, in season 20, we played against Crit Sandwich, and they made a video making fun of our scout. We didn't like that, very obviously. Like, you know, our scout kind of made some goofs, but he doesn't deserve to get made fun of like that. And we really dislike Crit Sandwich for that reason. We prepared a lot. Like we were determined to defeat Crit Sandwich in our regular season game here. Yeah, like we wanted vengeance, and we were gonna make a video in return. We actually went out of our way to, like, I don't think anyone does this anymore. We studied their STV demos and like looked at what they did, and then you know, countered everything that they were doing, just so that we could win. And then we made the video, and a lot of people gave us flack for it, but I think none of them knew why we did it. They just looked like we were being assholes, but like, we didn't like that they made fun of one of our players. So that was a little bit of a rivalry. It didn't really last outside of that one match. So yeah, you can watch that video. It's actually really amusing, because the way Rager edited the video, like, it's really goofy. I don't know if you're playing with audio and whatever. It's like it's super goofy. Okay, and then he's got like a lot of like random like Illuminati fucking pop-ups. I don't even know. Like, you see that picture of the people with the masks and shit. Like, it's so goofy. But it's interesting. Like, you never see anyone on 2W die. It's almost like really perfect propaganda. It's the illusion that we never died to them. But yeah. So yeah, this is a fun memory of 2W in that season. I think people outside of 2W don't even understand this. And, you know, maybe... Oh, what? Yeah, like, outside of that, I had nothing against them. I just didn't like that they made fun of our player. You know, like, it's kind of like when if someone bullied your little brother, right? Like, no one gets to do that but me. Yeah. So yeah, that was our first rival, or I guess, well, maybe I don't know. It was one of our rivals. The second rival we had was Lunean's team, 9 Angry Men. Yeah, so Lunean is kind of a meme. It was always kind of fun to mess with him. But the reason I think we were rivals is because everyone had unanimously predicted they were going to win silver. And I think it all started early on. We scrimmed them on Upward. I do have a video of it. I don't know if you care to look at it later or whatever. We'll put it on the screen later. But we scrimmed on Upward, and then we had a teleporter on offense that went to their last. So to break the Upward hold in tiles, we just killed them from their own spawn. And after that, like, it was on, you know, like... Everyone thought they would win silver, and then, like, suddenly, you know, we had a really strong scrim against them. I know scrims don't mean a whole lot, but, like, it was just that nice little rivalry between the teams. And like I said, it's always fun to mess with Lunean. Yeah, it was pretty much Rager compiling all of the team's highlights in that match. And a lot of us actually stepped up. Similar to how we really unified, and I think maybe I forgot to mention this, but like in season 20 when we all tagged up as 2M, that was the first time that season we all felt like we were playing on the same team. And this is a very similar situation where we all had the same goal. You know, some of us, not all of us, but some of us were part of that team the previous season, right? And we didn't like that they did that. And even people who aren't on that team, like, you just explain it to them, you know, this is what they did. We're going after them. Yeah. So this is, yeah, it was interesting. Exactly. Yeah, you never know what people were going to rally with. And this is just vengeance, I guess. So I mentioned it was fun to mess with Lunean. Actually, I'll send you a video. I'll send you the video, the Upward Hold, and you can watch that later. sure. Yeah, like I said, like it's the ultimate troll editing. It's like Rager had like a talent for this. Yeah, like see, like they actually came out of the forward spawn there, and he thought it was like really funny. Like they actually did that. But whatever, we were all in silver. Here's that video. Yeah. DZ Creeper's in this clip, actually.
Guys, everyone come to
It's a shame for like people who are audio only listeners. But like I just shadow played back in the day, right? Like I was just playing whatever. Yes, it was. And yeah, Labby at the time for people who yeah, right? I don't even know how he did that, but Labby kind of this is what he did. He did a lot of like meme things. He was from Europe, and like he'd be playing at 2 a.m. just doing these meme strategies, and it was always kind of a party to have him in the game, you know. And so this is like the one time where he was like, "Everyone, just stop what you're doing. Take my teleporter." And we're like, "What?" Like, and some of us went there, and I just kept going back. I was like, "Oh, sure, dude, I could shoot the med." And then here's DZ Creeper. He's just standing there. And like you can clearly see like their comms like weren't ready for it. At this time, Lunean was on engineer, and then eventually, like towards the end of the season, they started taking it seriously and they put him back on spy, which is his main. But yeah, this is like we were surprised we actually pulled this off. Yeah, and the rivalry was born that day. But yeah, we ended up. There's not a whole lot to say about season 21. We met 9 a.m. in the grand finals. It was casted by my good friend MDS, and it was really exciting. Like it was our first time, for a lot of us, ever even getting that high in silver. And like I said, with Vryktion's help, he really brought us like we weren't perfect by any means, but we were definitely like in the next level. You know, like we were able to make that next step. Yeah. So we had it set out to try to tilt Lunean some more just because it was funny. And the maps where they picked Asheville, we picked Badwater, and then the third map was the third map was Upward. And we actually dropped Asheville. Both teams played really good games. And yeah, we dropped Asheville and ended up coming back to win on Upward and Badwater. So funny thing. Labby, so Mikalele kind of talked, or Mikalele? I don't know how to say his name. I used to call him Ukulele. But yeah, he mentioned Pyrrhus, so that's, or Pyrouss rather. He was Labby on our team, because if you noticed, we had Pyrrhus, the Pyro, on our team. And when we had both of them on our team, I was like, all right, nobody can be Pyrrhus. And so they both had to have different names. So Pyrrhus became Chris, and then Labrat, who is Pyrouss, became Labby. And this is one of those stupid things where, like, you know, it was fun. You know? Like, what are the odds you have two people with that name on the same team? I'd never heard that name before I played Highlander, and then I had two of them. And so it's just one of those fun things that I look back on. Like, I still call Pyrrhus Chris to this day. Yeah. Later on, actually, for a time, we had 3 Chris's, because we called Pyrrhus Chris. We had Chris 18, and then we had Chris the Heavy. And so for a time, I was like, hey, nobody can be Chris. And so we started changing everyone's name around. But it was too hard to enforce by then, because like I can't call Chris 18. I can't call Chris something else, and then the Pyrrhus Chris. I'm not going to change gears and call him Pyrrhus all of a sudden. It was too hard. I tried, though. I honestly did. But yeah. Anyway, so we let me find this GIF. Where is it? I left it in this conversation somewhere. We trolling Lunean was a lot of fun. Okay, and same thing with CSN. We would watch demos of 9 a.m. and try to, we wanted to win. And so we'd see what they tended to do, and especially Lunean, we wanted to tilt him off the face of the planet. Yeah, and so on Badwater, someone wagered whoever finds and kills Lunean gets an unusual. Sad to say, none of us did it, but I want to show you how close I was to getting an unusual. So this is an STV demo from that. Look how fucking close that was. He's standing right there. I could not believe that. Oh, it's... Still? Yeah. And when we got to Platinum, it was something that we did less of because it wasn't so much the strategy that was beating us, it was the mechanical skill. And so there's a lot of execution that we fell short on. So it wasn't like watching their demo was going to magically make us beat these teams that were better than us. I think occasionally we would still watch some demos to like learn from, but it wasn't something that we would like study for the sake of winning that 1 week. Like it wasn't a thing anymore. Yeah. Oh, one of the things I forgot to talk about in season 20, and this happened, throughout the other seasons as well, but like when you're playing Highlander on like old maps, the meta is kind of defined already, right? Like it's already been solved. People know how to play most maps. But when you do new maps, it suddenly was like there's a lot of fun. I think season 20 they had Millstone, but they brought it back in season 22. And it's a situation where playing field is leveled now, right? Like the strategy is still undetermined, people are just fooling around. So like season 20 had that with Millstone, season 22 had Millstone, season 23 had season 22 had Vigil. And season 23 had Cascade. And so for a team that was trying to still find their own identity and stuff, those maps are always going to be like, those are really fun because this is the time when we can theory craft. We can see if we can break the map. What random edges can we stand on, right? Yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention that for people who are kind of unfamiliar with, I guess, the time scale of how the maps played out in UGC. They're very memorable for us. I wouldn't say we won on all those maps, but like we played through some of the different iterations of the map. I don't know how any of them changed today. Oh, that's cool. Oh, too bad. Millstone was really interesting. Oh. Which barrels? Oh, the one to A. Or B. Yeah. Oh, that's really good to hear. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's really good. I really wanted to add that into my talk because like it's it's really different when you play a map that nobody has played before. You know, like the world is your oyster. I remember in Millstone season 20, like like we were in silver and we scrimmed some steel teams. I don't remember what point it is. I think it's third, but it had like a one-way shutter door in front of the room or in the room where the point was, right? But it was only openable by the blue team. And you know, people like, automatically assume like, oh, the silver team's gonna be better than the steel team. But you throw all that out the window as soon as you have a new map. Because I remember there was one steel team we played against. What they did, they put a fucking level 3 right in front of that door, and they never opened it. And it was so much. There was so much pressure on that fucking door that like we're like, okay, we need to do that to other teams now, you know. But yeah, it was really interesting because I got the opportunity to learn from a team that was in a division lower than us, right? And I think that's really important for the health of the league to you know there's room for strategy, things people haven't seen before. Yeah, and then at that point, it's just a matter of execution, who has better DM and whatnot. It's kind of it's not as there's no adventure in that, you know. There's no wonder in the new map or in the old maps rather. I only got to play them in 2 seasons. I played Process and I played Vanguard in season 21 and 23. No, we played Gully Wash too, in season 22. Um, the sad thing was like I was never a sixes player, so I didn't like. I think sixes players probably had a way better understanding of the map than I ever did. Um, so it's hard for me to say whether or not I was just bad at it or the map was bad. You know. If I were playing today, I think trying it every now and then, like it would be okay. But yeah, I only saw it a couple of times, and it wasn't enough for me to really found a solid opinion on it. Yeah. Anyways, so where was I? Season 21 finished. Yeah. So uh, I did talk about how KootyKat helped me. My aim. Yeah, it was more like a growth period for me, um, to improve how I played in Highlander rather than how I changed as a leader. Uh, but now we finally made it. You know, like we won in silver, and it's exactly like they were trying to tell us on the forums. You know, if you want to come to platinum, you have to win silver or place in silver or whatever, and we did it. You know, like it's a huge like we made it moment. And it was for a lot of us on that team, it was the first time ever winning anything. It was really big. One of the things that was really important for me, first of all, there was a really warm welcome from a lot of the platinum players, because we didn't die. We didn't die and reform in silver. We actually survived with a handful of our players, and we moved up. And that was something that like hadn't been done. It almost seems like it hadn't been done before. Like it was just that rare. To the point where people were reaching out to us and like they wanted to come meet us. I know. I don't know if Def Joe still plays, but like I thought it was really cool of him. Once he added me and then he asked like, "Hey, do you need a ringer next week? I'd like to ring for you guys." And like I didn't understand why, but he just wanted to meet us, because suddenly this team that won silver is actually moving. He wanted to see what we're like. A lot of the different leaders of platinum teams would reach out to us like we're one of them now. They'd schedule scrims with us and whatnot. One of the really cool things, BV at the time, Chill Penguins, they were looking for a sniper, and I tried. Like, we were scrimming them a lot, and I saw a lot of different snipers that went through there. One of them was Vaxi or Vax, and that's the guy that like had my number on Lakeside. And to my surprise, he didn't make the team. And I remember asking Wymeo, like, how come Vaxi didn't make it? Like, that guy's better than me. And as a matter of fact, she said, because you outsniped him. And like, it dawned on me, like, they're using me as their benchmark for who could play in Platinum. And I overcame the guy who fucking destroyed me on Lakeside. Like, that's really huge for me, is again, like, I felt like I finally made it. And yeah, a lot of that, like I said, I attribute that to the advice that KootyKat gave me that one day where it's just, what are you doing? I didn't have an answer. Yeah. Mentoring is always like a really weird subject because throughout those seasons, I did attempt to mentor people who would come to me for help or whatever, and like I can only really tell them what I thought was good or what worked for me or what I saw or what I thought they should be doing and stuff. But like I said when Jarrett was mentoring us, like there are some people who like they're not ready for the words. You can give them the answer and it wouldn't be the answer for them. You know what I mean? Like it just wouldn't help them. Maybe until later they have to think about it a little more. Maybe they have to experience it a little bit differently. Like sometimes Jarrett would go over a map with us. Like I didn't fucking get it, and then we go and play. Like also, one of the things I used to do as part of as a leader is I would record all these map reviews, and then we would play the match and like I'd be fucking lost, and then I go back and watch the map review because like I'm trying to like relate things that I saw with what Jarrett said would happen or how we should have reacted to things. Like, oh, we actually didn't do any of that, we didn't do anything, and that's why we lost, right? And then you kind of learn that way. hmm One of the other things that I should call or bring note to or call attention to rather, I think a lot of people will meme on 2W as having really weird callouts for things. For example, like the E spawn for red and steel, I call that Stargate. Did you ever see the show Stargate, like SG-1? Well, yeah. So the Stargate is essentially a big ring. There's like a portal to other worlds and whatever. I'm a big sci-fi fan. But it's just a big ring that goes to E. So I call that Stargate. Like the forward spawn that's also red that closes after you capture B. We call that Zelda. We had all these very peculiar callouts. Lakeside, the half packs that are on each side of the map, we call that boat. Each side of the map, there's a boat there. It's by the water. What else? Upward. What do you call the little cliff area on first that leads to? How do I describe this? See. Yeah, so if you were on blue and you went up the stairs on the left on the wooden area and you went past that and followed that cliff edge all the way through that door that goes to the hill, what do you call that cliff edge? Yeah. Yeah, but what if your left is different from someone else's left? What if your idea of cliff is something different, right? Like, what about the cliff where people put the teleporter? What if that's cliff, Like, there's a lot of ambiguity that comes when people are trying to communicate with each other. And just having a solid call that makes sense. We call that truth, by the way. You ever play Halo 1? So you know the episode, or the level of Truth and Reconciliation? The beginning of that mission looks a lot like that area. So I call that place Truth. And Moondoggy would always call it Halo. But That's besides the point. But we had calls for all sorts of things, and it was just an exercise in trying to make our comms better. And I don't know if a lot of people really work on that kinds of things. You know, like what if a more accurate call could have saved someone's life? What if a more accurate call would win you the game? Right? I don't know how many people think about that kinds of things, but that's part of what I would do. Is that if I felt like in the game, if someone gave me a bad call and they didn't describe it very well, and I needed to know, like if it resulted in like a team wipe or whatever, suddenly we were making call-outs for it. And you ask anybody, like I talked to Pyrrhus earlier today, and he mentioned like he still uses 2W callouts because we had them, because it was an accurate way of describing a location, right? I don't know. I had those recorded as well, and those would always be like 2-minute videos of just me running around the map and shooting at the floor and making callouts and whatever. And it's really easy with it when you're having a new roster like every season, whatever. People who haven't played with you before, you just send them the 2-minute videos. Like, here's our callouts. Try to memorize them. Do your best, and yeah, I think our callouts were really good. Yeah. But some teams have like different callouts for different things, like Secret in Japan. We always tried to standardize it. Like anytime we had new players, we made sure that it was standardized because like what I made important to us, it started becoming important to other people because they started to recognize the value in having something that you understand. There's no ambiguity, right? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we finally made it to platinum in season 22, and it was a really interesting season. We had to fill up with a lot of different holes in our roster because not everyone wanted to continue going into season 22. Oh, I'll show you this video. I have to call this out because so as I said, we defeated Lunean's team. It's not on my channel, actually. We defeated Lunean's team in season 21, and our last match was Upward. And like I said, we were always watching the STV demos, seeing what Lunean would do and try to tilt him. We had the patented Lunean trap, the trap that was intended to only kill Lunean. And so this is Rager's POV of that match in the grand finals. And you'll see, it works. In the first, so 9am also survived and made it to platinum. The first week, we faced off against Lunean's team on Upward. And so Vavli was our demo for that week. And we told them, dude, just put your trap here, wait like a few seconds because Lunean now waits. Just wait for a few seconds and then dead. And we killed only Lunean. Yeah, so like same team, the same map. Yeah, it's just continuing the rivalry. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Oh yes, season 22 had its own set of problems because the roster wasn't as steady as I'd want. Like I had hoped because we lost a lot of people from season 21 to going to season 22. And with roster issues, suddenly I was under a lot more pressure as a leader, right? Number one, our demo Rager, he didn't want to play demo anymore, so like we tried to find a replacement demo so that he can go back to Soldier, which is his main. We thought we found one, and then the day of the match, the guy like removed me and like ghosted me, and like left our roster. He also stole my spreadsheet and posted it on the forums, and he's like, "Here, I made this for you guys to for everyone to use." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the fuck? Who does that?" And I think he might have joined Lunean's team or something like that after. I don't know. There was like a yeah, like I was like, "What the fuck? Like, you can't be like this can't be real." But it was. Okay, so yeah, that happened. That's why we had Vavli playing demo. We just needed a demo like day of the match. I don't know if he was like a player who played a long time. It's probably not worth me telling, but yeah. It was just so funny to look back on. Luckily we ended up defeating them, my good friend Daffodil, he was actually on 9 a.m. in that time, and we played against him. So because we needed a demo, like eventually Rager is like, all right, you tried, I'll play demo. You know, like I did try to let him play soldier, it just didn't work out. So he went back to demo, so we needed a soldier. And so Daffodil added me. And he's like, yeah, you guys beat my team. Seem pretty good. Can I play? You know? And this was this is a learning experience for me because I didn't have a good impression of Daffodil. Not because he was trying to hop teams, but like there was one time in season 20 when like I think we got him to ring for us. And it didn't go very well, I'm gonna be honest. It was bad. But after like the moment the game ended, he quit the server, removed me. Like he just like fucking disappeared, and I was like, okay, this guy seems kind of toxic. And that was my only impression of Daffodil. But you know, I talked to Jarrett a lot about players who might be involved in sixes. And yeah, Jarrett gave me a good review of Daffodil. A lot of players did from the sixes community, or Alti Duo or whatever. And I gave him a chance, and it turned out to be one of the better decisions that I made because Daffodil's, I think, is a really solid player. And he became like a staple of the team. He mentioned he played on second win, and we didn't do that well, but like he played on second win like every season after that second win was alive. Yeah. Unfortunately, this success was short lived. Rager's work schedule changed, and we had to replace a demo again. But before that happened, this was actually the highlight of that season. At that in that season 22, what would go on to become the second place team was a team of like players from like K&D and whatever, and the team was Where's Etney. And we played them on Steel, and we took a half, and it wasn't like they threw the game. We actually took that half from them. That might actually be a better video for you to have in the background. Let me find it. But like that, honestly, like for me personally, that might have been one of the most perfect games of Steel I've ever played, or game in general I've ever played, because like you could see I made almost every correct decision at every given point of the game, and we won. And like, oh man, Steel. Let me maybe give you the logs first. We were so happy with it that you know we just moved up to platinum, and we managed to take this half. And this is like a typical map that you know is hard for most people, most teams. Like this is the team killer map, and we took a half against what ended up being the second best team in that division that season. And this was I think this is the last match that Rager was able to play with us, which is unfortunate because you could see like there was light at the end of the tunnel. We had the gears were turning, you know, everything was falling into place, but you know, unfortunately the work schedule changed, and yeah, who knows what could have been. But yeah, this is an amazing game, I think. I'll give you the link of the video so you play it in the background or whatever. I was really proud of this game. But yeah, after this week, we had to put Daff on demo, and like then we had to like figure out what we were doing for Soldier. So every season is gonna have like the after I lost Rager and like and Moondoggy later, like it was just a revolving door of players because we couldn't find people who really fit the team culture or whatever, who didn't perform the way we wanted to. And like that put a lot of pressure on me because like at this point in time, like I spent all of season 21 improving myself. Okay. But now it was like, oh shit, like I gotta fix the team. I'm the leader, you know? I had to put in a lot of work trying to do research on these players because still like I didn't really know many players. I didn't socialize outside of my team. But the team was counting on me to these are players who wanted to be here and they wanted to win. And it really is on me to build a team that's, you know, that's capable of doing that kind of thing. Okay, I'll wait. Welcome back. What's it on about? Oh my god, I forgot. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, so yes, I felt a lot of pressure as a leader to fix the team. Um, yeah, and especially when the team changes, I have to change my playstyle, right? Like I got very used to playing with Ragri and Moondoggy, but when we didn't have them, like I couldn't just play the same way, and so it was back to like season 20 kinds of levels of stress where I needed to figure things out really fast. The rest of the season 22, I think it was fun. Like we had our moments. I think we did play in the playoffs. We lost against BV. We played like Millstone and Vigil and stuff. BV was always a really good scrim partner. Shout out to them. But yeah, like our records didn't do that well. And honestly, like that stress, I'm gonna be honest, it blew up. Like I blew up. There was a point in that season where like I screamed at my team, and it's one of the biggest regrets that I have because like they don't deserve that, right? And especially from the leader. Like I should be holding myself to higher standards, but you know it was really frustrating. I didn't know what to do. Some people weren't showing up for things, weren't reviewing anything. They weren't working with the team. There was just a lot of problems that were going on, and something I'm not going to really say what it was, but it pushed me over the edge, and I screamed at the team, and then I was so shocked that I had to walk away. I walked away for a while everyone kind of regained their composure. And unfortunately, you know, that's something that I have to live with. It. It's always going to be a regret of mine. For what could have been like a really fun season, I probably ruined it for at least one person. You know, yeah, that just comes down to not knowing how to handle these situations. Maybe not asking for help enough, not being honest enough, and just generally inexperience, right? Yeah, that's too bad because that's when we started doing like anime night. Like we were like, yeah, we're gonna have the power of friendship and whatever, and then I fucking yelled at everyone. But yeah, so that was the second half of the season. Yeah, definitely was a struggle. Season 23 was really interesting, actually. Um, we had the same kinds of struggles, I think, where we would, you know, like Daff wanted to play soldier, so we tried to pick up a demo, and the demo didn't work out, so Daff has to play demo. You know, like there's always these like things that just didn't work out like ever for us, and we kept having to change people, and it was just really unfortunate. But the interesting thing, I think this is a point in my leading career where I realized I could actually rely on my players a little more. Because that season was kind of saved by Daff, I think. Because Daff basically like recruited his whole sixes team to like come play for us when a bunch of our players were leaving, just to fill in the roles. And it was a really interesting time for 2W because uh, it totally changed the personality of the team because prior to that, we got used to how the rest of us played, but when everything changed, we had to change how we played, and because we adopted a lot of sixes players, it was a lot more like fast and loose, and so I think our record wasn't all that better in season 23, but it was really interesting that like suddenly we could play a different way, um the players that he recruited onto the team were Lovable Man and who's on Soldier, so that Daff could play demo, and then he brought in Wolsney, who was our medic that season because our demo and our medic had parted ways with us, which at the time was really controversial, because a lot of people didn't like that we cut our demo. I guess I'll just say who it was. It was Metawe, who was a part of DK previously. He had played medic and he wanted to learn demo, and it so ended up that we had him. But it just didn't work out for either him or us. That there was just a lot of differences that we ended up not being able to overcome during the season. Maybe our communication skills just weren't good enough, and it's really hard on the team environment, right? When there's just internal conflict, it weighs on everybody. But the week after we ended up cutting Metawe, we played DK, and we actually took a half off of DK on Swiftwater. So in a way, we were a little bit vindicated there, because everyone kind of shat on us. But it's not necessarily Metawe's fault. Like I think he just didn't fit with what we were trying to do, So suddenly with this fast and loose style, like we weren't better than DK in any way, but because our play style suddenly changed to be something like I said, fast and loose. It was really interesting. DK Carl's Twitch channel is no longer there, but I do have a clip of it's in my season 24 frag video of his perspective when I capped the cart on Swiftwater. But yeah, so that's always stood out. Like that was a really awesome moment, honestly. Like we had a game plan as well, and it just worked out that we actually really executed it. And I think that might have been the first week that we played with our new pickups, and they had really good communication skills, like Lovable Man and Wolsney. Like I really enjoyed playing with both of them, because suddenly there's people talking. There's information in the air. You can work with them, and it was just a lot of fun to play with both of them. What else do I want to talk about with season 23? That might be it. Yeah. So in that particular case, yeah, I would say our season was kind of saved by Daffodil, and that was the point where I realized that people other than me have a vested interest in making the team live and trying to have us succeed. It was no longer just about me trying to work on my teamwork skills and whatever, right? It felt like I created a home for people, and a lot of our players stayed from season 22 to 23. Like Nugget stayed, Pyrrhus stayed, Daff stayed, Moondoggy stayed, and maybe some of our subs too. I can't remember. Chocobo stayed. Yeah, right. Sorry, forgot about Chocobo. Really nice guy. But yeah, and then season 24 was more of the same struggles, honestly. But I had learned a lot from just having that brief period of season 23 where suddenly I had teammates who communicated a lot, that I was able to work on other things. Because I think a lot of snipers in general, when they think about improving, they think, oh, you just grind Kovacs, just improve your aim or whatever. But like I've been alluding to with the communication or whatever, there's so many different things you can do to play sniper to impact the game than stand next to your medic and scoped in, hit every shot, I kind of dubbed that as the Andrew play style where you just hit everything, and a lot of people that became meta for a while, but I never really liked to play that way because in large part it didn't work on my team. I couldn't do that, and I couldn't just underperform because I couldn't play like Andrew. You know what I mean? Like I needed to find other ways to play. Yeah, and it's not even just about having the better sniper. It's about having the better team, like the team that allows you to do that. Historically, like my team, everyone knows, like we had, like every team has problems, but like it was just never viable for us to do that. And so I didn't do it. I found other ways to learn how to play the game. Just like how you saw in this video right now, like I looked at, I learned more about the maps. I looked at Death Hallway to see if they're going there, and I used my microphone to relay that information to my team, right? I took that time to learn more from Jarrett. Asked him a lot of questions about, like, you know, tell me more about the combo. Like, what are they actually doing? You know, I tried to learn more about the game rather than just sniper, so that I could be more effective. And in season 24, I did more of the same, and it really, I think it kind of showed. I know Arts was our demo that we picked up initially. Fun fact, so like when we picked up Arts, we needed a demo, and he said, if you beat my team in a scrim, I'll play demo for you. And we actually did beat his team in a scrim. So he was a man of his word. He came and played demo for us for a time. Ultimately, I think it didn't work out. But you know, one of the things he always told me, he was surprised how much I did for the team. Even though I was just a sniper, like I did so much to, you know, things that most snipers don't need to do. And a lot of that, you know, it came from the evolution of my own play, just from, you know, being forced to play with different teammates and whatever. Like, it's unfortunate that our rosters always had issues, but you know, you can't just use that as an excuse. You got to do something to try to improve, right? Because the team is counting on me. Not only am I the leader, like one of the things that I was really afraid of was letting the team down, just like how I did in season 21 on Lakeside. I never wanted to feel that ever again. I didn't want to feel like I let the team down and we lost because I didn't perform well enough. So I put a lot of work in to try to, you know, be a, what's the word? One of the more important players on the team rather than the person who was just behind Rager and Moondoggy. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything notable about season 24. That season, like I said, we had roster issues and we ended up having to, like, we picked up a demo. Daff didn't have to play demo again. We ended up picking up Fig, I believe. Oh, that was the season we lost Moondoggy, actually. And it was really hard for me. I had a really good working relationship, I would like to think, with all my spies, because like the two of us, I treated us as a team. You know what I mean? Like we were a tandem. It was on both of us to kind of deny some areas, solve problems, and counteract the sniper. And Moondoggy had a really good play style that kind of worked with me. And in a lot of ways, I trained him to, yeah, like he's a dog or something. I kind of trained him to play the way I wanted him to play. Just little, yeah, just little things. Because so the way Moondoggy played, in his prime, I would say, in his prime, he was always alive. He was always behind them, and so like if I needed him to do something for me, he was in position, and he was just kind of biding his time, trying to look for an opportunity. But he was always an option. Because he was alive, I didn't feel like I could not take any risks. You know what I mean? Like because if I die and he's dead, who's gonna get the sniper, right? But if I, you know, want to kind of take a shot or whatever, and he's still alive, at least something to fall back on, right? And that's really important for people who don't really play sniper might not know, but like there's a lot of pressure on you if your spy is always dead. You know, if he always goes in for like the chain stabs or whatever. and that was something that was really interesting when I had to play with Chris 18, because like everyone knows how Chris 18 plays. And he likes the quick chain stabs and whatever. Um, and that was something we had to work together, and I had to explain to him like it's not that I don't want you to do anything, like but like there are consequences to how someone plays, right? It does affect the team. You can't just like run in there every chance you get. You kind of have to give other people the opportunity to make an opening for you or whatever, right? Um, and so I don't remember much about how the season went on, but I know like I had a lot of talks with Chris 18, just trying to like work together, right? Because uh, tell him what I kind of wanted from him, and he did a really good job of like implementing a lot of the feedback I had for him. This is the first time I really played with another spy, and one of the nice things he told me was he learned a lot from that season. Like a lot of the other seasons, like he didn't really improve that much because it was like he just stabbed people, right? But this was suddenly like a new way to play, and I thought that was really interesting because now I felt like I got to the point where I'm telling someone else how they could play their class differently, a class I don't even know how to play, right? That's how much I grew. Um, yeah, I thought it was a really nice comment by him. Yeah, and I know like I played with different spies and stuff, and I might have been like, I think a lot of them might have taken it the wrong way, you know, like I might have come off as like kind of toxic or whatever. That I wanted people to play this certain way, but there's a good reason for it because, like I said, like this is just a lot of unnecessary pressure if you're always dying. In the same way that if I go and feed, like there's pressure on my team, or there would be pressure on my spy to suddenly have to equalize a sniper if I was just constantly feeding, right? Um, and yeah, it's one of those things I think don't think a lot of people really think about. Just the pressure is real. I don't know if other classes feel the same way, but it's something that I always thought about. Hmm. Yeah, so season 24, not a lot happened that season. Like I think we made playoffs or something. We didn't. Again, like we were pretty mediocre in the standings. Um, and that's pretty much how all of second win seasons had gone. But you know, there is this growth, right? That I think I was undergoing. The team was going through this culture that was being cultivated. Um, a lot of people were really uh, invested in the team, and it was really interesting to see all of that develop over the many seasons. Hmm. So unfortunately, this is the topic where you know you can talk a little bit about the UGC admins, but they had banned me at the end of season 24 in the off season. Um, I'm not really going to get into what it was, but they never explained to me what I did or why. I messaged like every admin that I knew. I got the cold shoulder from all of them, and I just it all happened so suddenly that you know I didn't know how to react. I was actually in shock. Um, and if people feel that you know my ban was deserved, like if I had hurt anyone or offended anyone, you know, like I'm sorry, but to this day, like I don't know what I did. Um, and it really sucked because uh, I was gonna have one last season because actually it was actually working out that Rager his schedule uh, improved, and then Moondoggy's schedule also improved. So I was gonna, you know, we were gonna have the trifecta back again. I had planned to have one last season with the boys because so remember my government job that I had. Uh, I considered that like a step in the door because you know I wanted to work there. But because it's a government job, the hiring process had to be fair. Um, the way they do it is they release the job posting if there's a position available. They release the job posting internally first to see if anyone wants to move in laterally, and if not, it goes external. And because I was casual, I'm not considered internal. But this particular time, it did go external. And this was like my opportunity, right? Like this is the moment I was going for to finally get my career started. Um, I was gonna retire from TF2. I had learned a lot about leading and teamwork and all that stuff that I set out to do. I felt like everything, despite only winning silver once, I made a lot of lifelong friends there, and everything was pretty much a success. Um, but like I said, like being banned, I was in shock. The interview for that position was a couple of days later, and you better believe I bombed it. It was the worst interview I've ever had in my life, and I didn't get it. Um, and you know, being banned and I didn't know who my friends were anymore. I lost that job. I was going back into depression. Um, and I really I want to talk about it, because I think a lot of people are depressed, and some people who maybe play TF2 now or played in the past or whatever, maybe they're in similar situations that I was in, where they're trying to start their career and maybe they're just stuck. So yeah, I wanted to talk about it. Um, after all of that, like I did feel like I had accomplished my goal in growing as my teamwork skills and leadership skills and whatnot. And honestly, kind of embarrassing, but I do put that on my resume. And even if people don't play those games or like it's a conversation starter. Like people have always asked me, what is this Highlander team that you wrote about? What does leading a Highlander team entail, right? And it's a really good opportunity to demonstrate your passion in something. Um, it's a good opportunity to show that you've actually applied yourself towards something, put an effort into something. And there are a lot of like unique, well, maybe not, well, I guess it's a unique scenario, but they're all transferable skills. Like, um, the skills you gain from leading are transferable to the real world. Those don't go away. Those spreadsheet skills that I learned to make our second win spreadsheet, like I ended up using those in the workforce. And even now, like they think I'm like the spreadsheet guy in my current job. um yeah, it's just there's a lot of transferable skills, and I think it was really valuable to have gone through that, even if it didn't have quite the storybook ending that I wanted it to. Um, I'm really glad that I went through all of that. Uh, Following, like as I entered, or I guess went back into depression. Um, because I'd failed that job interview, I was like, oh fuck, like I can't just not do anything, right? So I started looking for like a second job while I also worked this job. Um, and then I started getting really lonely because I was overworking myself. I worked two jobs. I didn't have time to like spend time with anybody. I wasn't able to play, Team Fortress 2 with all my friends and my teammates and whatever. Like all that was gone. And it was really hard. I felt really lost. Um, and the job that I had, like I actually ended up hurting my knee because I fell off a ladder. So it was just even bad goes to worse, right? I just felt like it's like super shitty. And I felt like I was just I was actually considering going back to school because like I fucked this up. Like that's how I honestly felt. I felt like I fucked this up. Um, but I mentioned I wanted to get into podcasts, like to talk about podcasts, and because of the job that I had, it was like a cable running company. And so you would run cables in the drop ceiling and the drywall and stuff for like apartment buildings that aren't complete yet. You would run the data cables and the phone cables before people moved in so that they could have the data jacks in the wall. And a lot of those times you would be working alone or whatever, like on the same floors of the people, but you split up. And so I just had a lot of time to myself, and I started listening to long form interview podcasts just like this one. And it really kind of changed my life, you know? Like I would say like my comms were good in TF2, but I was never good at really expressing myself, you know, I couldn't talk like I'm talking now. I would stumble on my words. I would get emotional. It was really hard for me to talk, despite being able to calm and stuff and whatever. But listening to those podcasts, it affects you. You know, like you kind of start trying to copy them, uh, and you kind of get connected. Like the really good episodes, you really start you become invested in the conversation, even if you don't know like who these people are. You just listen to what they have to say. And that was like a really important part of my life because I think I had gotten stagnant. Uh, and it's very natural for people, especially as they get older, to just stick with what you know. But especially with podcasts, I started to realize that I could listen to something that I wasn't already interested in and become interested in it. And that sounds kind of stupid, but like, trust me, it gets harder. It starts becoming like, oh, it's too much work, you know? Like, I don't want to waste 2 hours on that or whatever. But like, if you give something a chance, you know, you just try something new, it surprises you more often than not. And that's what I found with podcasts. And then following podcasts, I'll admit it, like I was into the Joe Rogan experience prior to him going into Spotify. I don't like Spotify's app for podcasts, so I kind of stopped listening to him then. But at the time, like that was the podcast for long form interviews. Nowadays, I listen to a lot of Lex Friedman, if anyone's into podcasts, but he has very similar styles of long form interviews. But anyways, Joe Rogan experience. Uh, he used to talk a lot about float tanks, and like it was intriguing to me. Um, I had never done one. The only thing I could think of was like there was an episode of The Simpsons when Lisa and Homer go into a float tank, and then it's supposed to be like some mystical journey, but so like Lisa has one, but Homer actually gets picked up and like taken all over town and stuff while he's inside the fucking casket getting rocked. Um, so I didn't think they were actually real, but you know he kept talking about it, and then I googled it and I found one that was like 5 minute drive from my house, and like this just goes to show that like, you know, just try something. Like you get exposed to something and then you try it, right? This floating experience, this might not change everyone's life if you ever have the opportunity to try it, but like it actually did change my life. Um, and really, it was just a form of meditating, which I had never done before, and I don't really do now even. But at the time, it was so different because have you ever been? Probably not, eh? Okay. Um, so it's sensory deprivation, and you get locked in like a casket full of salt water, and you float. Like you cannot sink in this. You cannot drown. You just float. The water is typically the same temperature as your body, and so you cannot feel anything. You feel weightless, like you're just floating there. And they close the casket on you. Well, it's your choice. You can actually leave it open if you want to, but for true sensory deprivation, right? Your ears are plugged so that you don't get salt water in your ear. The casket's closed, and you're stuck in there for a couple of hours alone with your thoughts. And this is something that I had never done before. Um, but I can't really pinpoint a single thing that changed my life there. But I know that I came out of that very different. Just being stuck with alone with your thoughts for that long, you know, just giving yourself an opportunity. I had never done meditation before. But it seemed to be really what I needed to really figure out, you know, what should I be doing. Um, and I do remember a little bit, like when I was in there, like I really wanted to. At the time, I was like I had my stepdad as a roommate, I really wanted to move out on my own, get my own place, and whatever. And I don't know, my outlook on life changed, and it's kind of maybe a coincidence. But when I got out of there, I went home and I decided, oh, I should just look for a job. And then I saw a job posting and I applied to it. And spoiler, I got the job. And that's where I currently work now. Because at the time, I didn't know it at the time. Because I had the interview while I was still working at two jobs. My government job the contract was going to expire at the end of the fiscal year. And the other job, I was going to get laid off due to a lack of work. And so at this time, I didn't know any of this. And this job that I applied to, I actually applied to it a year earlier. But if I mean, I'm not going to share it with you, but if you compared the resume and the cover letter that I wrote from the previous year to that year, or to after the float tank, it was night and day. Like, there was so much more confidence, and it was less about, trying to get someone to take a chance on me, and it was more, this is what I can do, this is what I've done in the past, and I did end up talking about my Highlander team in that interview. So yeah, I've been working there ever since. I really do feel like I finally got my career off the ground. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that'll help anyone, but yeah, like, I was in a really dark spot. I felt like my career path was over, and just doing something different, just moving forward, uh, really made the difference, and actually getting back on track. Even if I was, maybe I lost a few years, or however you want to look at it. Um, Eventually, I did get there, and I think I'm doing a lot better now, I think. I think so. Um, for the community, I think it's like a black hole of low hanging fruit. Like, there's a lot of people with their own problems and their own wounds and whatever, and I think everyone's just kind of like licking each other's wounds. There's a lot of easy ways to get satisfaction. Things like finding a place to fit in, right? And it just ends up being like just throwing slurs around is enough to get you friends. And like, I don't think that's not growth or anything, right? You didn't do anything for that. It's just it was the low hanging fruit that got you what you wanted to feel, and you end up people can get stuck there, um, especially with the suffocating, like, drama of the community. It's honestly like really bad. Like, you can just say, don't care what other people think, but it's really hard. There's too much going on, especially if you're, you know, in like a leadership position or something. It's really hard to not let any of that affect you. Even if I didn't want it to, like, especially when it came to like tryouts and stuff, right? Like, how do you get people to try out for your team if they don't like you? No matter who you have on your team, they're not going to play for you. And well, yeah, sure, I'm not fucking doing that. Yeah. And so, like, if people have, like, let's use this as an example. If people have a really bad impression of me because I had Gary on my team in season 21, like, it's just, it weighs on you. Like, what can you even do about that? Other, like, you just start getting involved in all this drama, trying to clear your own name, all in this, all for the sake of trying to have a competitive team for the people that believe in it, who believe in the following season that it'll be better. Um, it's yeah, it's really suffocating, and I think that my life's been honestly a lot better getting out of that. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah, these are a lot of thoughts that I don't know if I've ever really gotten the opportunity to share. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm not. Maybe it's it's just fluff or whatever. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Did you want to talk about anything about mentoring? I know I don't know if I've covered enough of mentoring. I know you like to talk about mentoring a lot. I can talk about it a little bit. But it's very similar to what I was saying about sometimes people just aren't ready for the answer. Like they're just not, in that frame of mind that'll make it click like I did with KootyKat. Um, I really hope you have Fallen Lord on as a guest one day. But like I wouldn't say I mentored him, but like we used to watch a lot of demos back in the day. Um, and I remember like he didn't do that well in a scrim once, and we watched the demo, and he told me that this really stuck with him. Not everything I said to him stuck with him at that time. It made a lot more sense later on, but one of the things that I said that apparently really made an impact on him was he was taking all these SVS fights, and I kept asking him like why are you taking this fight? You have no control over this situation. Why would you fight him when your spy can kill him? You know, like it's just it's things like that can really make a difference for people, and it's as much on the mentee as it is on the mentor to really nail those things, and it's really hard to do. Um, apparently, I I mentored a player named Tua for a while. I don't know if you know who he is. I never even knew him that well. Okay, from what I'm told, you could tell I mentored him, and that makes me smile because like a lot of the things I said to people, they didn't get it. But supposedly, like this guy actually tried to incorporate all the different ways of playing sniper that I tried to preach. Because like I said, like not everyone can just be like Andrew and just hit every shot while standing in your combo. Sometimes you have to do something different. And like apparently, Tua calmed, and apparently he even like moved the way I did. I can't really imagine that. I never saw him play, but it makes me smile that I actually impacted someone in a positive way like that. And there are some people who reach out to you looking for a mentor, but they don't have any intention of getting better themselves. They're looking for an answer. And like I said, like you can't always just give them an answer. Something like they do need to discover it on their own. They need to work for it. Um I remember I mentored someone, I'm not gonna say his name, but we'd always do all these demo reviews for many seasons. And it was always the same thing. Like he didn't really improve. And like there was a point like he was on product or something, and you see him like pull out his kukri and walk across the point and then just die. And I'm like, I don't need to be here to tell you not to do that, do I? And he was like, no, I guess you don't. A lot, especially snipers. I think a lot of them, and I was kind of the same way too in the beginning because my ego got fed by akemi a little bit, where you kind of want to show off. Look at this shot, man. Like it's you want to be praised, but success, and I tried to foster this in Second Wind. Success is built of the little things. If you do all the little things, the W's will come. And like you can't just like play a game and then like have the best game of your life and be like, yeah, I'm just that good. Like you could have just gotten lucky, right? It could have been their mistake. If you can't replicate that, if there's no consistency to it, um, then you haven't actually gotten better. So yeah, if I were to talk to, you know, anyone who wanted a mentee or mentor today, like it really is just as much on you as it is on the mentor. You really do. They can't make you improve. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, so you see that SMG video on the left? Yeah, you don't have to watch it. But so the backstory behind this is against Vryktion, and by defeating him in MGE, he will probably say this never happened, but I have it on YouTube. I defeated him in SMG MGE, and because of this, he joined our team. So, uh, yeah, he will say he never lost because you'll see he just like quits when I'm about to hit 20. He just quits the game. Fucking guy. But yeah. Is there anything about sniper you wanted to talk about? Because I don't know if you had a lot of snipers on your interviews. Well, I couldn't speak on it now. Like I'm so far removed from the scene. Recently, I actually did a group watch just with Fallen Lord. We were watching because he's also been removed from the game as well. We were watching some of the snipers on Twitch. I don't know. I think playoffs are happening right now or something like that. Yeah, so it was like a few weeks ago. We were just like, I don't know, we were bored and we just started watching it together, and like, I was like, holy shit, Fallen Lord, like, it's so different now, you know. Like people are playing, we don't understand what they're doing. And then we were just watching like sniper streams, right? And like it's just like this guy's not doing anything. He's just shooting people, you know. Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. Um, it's not how we would do it, you know. And maybe that's just the fact that we're the spectator. We see things that they don't see or whatever, right? It's very different when you're actually playing the game. You miss so much. I know Rebels LFT right now. I don't know if Exile's still playing. I think it's his. I don't know. Maybe it was his last season for like the final time. He always says that. Um, Nugget's playing. Pyrrhus is playing. I think Daff's not playing anymore, but he was. I don't know. I haven't kept up too much. I've been talking to them recently, just to seeing what they're up to. Um, but the interesting thing, like just talking to me, they all said the same things. Like they want to play with 2W players again, and I don't like. It makes me happy, but I don't really know what was so special. Um, like, it's hard for me to have that kind of perspective. Maybe you should ask them. But there's something about the 2W culture that like they really want to play with those kinds of people again. Maybe sixes. Yeah, he plays sixes. He doesn't play Highlander. I think that was his last season. He didn't want to play after that. Yeah. Um. But yeah, they always enjoy like the company of ex 2W players, and I don't know. Like maybe it was really impressionable because I had those standards, right? Um. I think yeah, we just had a culture that they liked. Hmm. Did I talk about denying ringers? Okay. Okay. Um. Most of it started in season. I was very by the book. I didn't know any better, right? Like, I followed the rules. Like I have the right to deny a ringer. It just made sense to me to like use it if I felt it was necessary. The problem with that is that everyone else had their own expectations of how that rule should be followed, but it was kind of unfairly based on the idea that I would know the players they're trying to ring. But as I've established, like I didn't know anybody. I only socialized with my team. The only times I saw other people were like when I played against them or if they tried out for me. Other than that, like you ask if you can ring someone, I don't know if they're better than your main. I don't even know who your main is, right? And so like famously, I guess I denied a sniper ringer for 9 a.m. in season 21, and they didn't like that. It's like something about Shay's internet or whatever because I think he lived on like the far east coast of Canada. I don't know what the reasons were, but like Who did they want to ring? No, did they want to ring Shay? No, they wanted to ring Shay instead. I don't know who their main was. Lermit? Yeah, it was Lermit. But yeah, I denied it. And I got a lot of shit for it. But like, I don't know anyone, you know. And like, why do you have 21 players in your roster if you don't have a substitute? Right? Like it just didn't make any sense to me. Like why do I need to allow you to do this thing when you didn't do your due diligence as a leader? Like why didn't you build a roster? And it was one of those things that I tried to hold myself to that standard too, when applicable, because there were times when like my main couldn't make it or someone was injured or in the hospital. It actually happened once. Someone was actually in the hospital, and I would remember my spreadsheet shows who can play what class. I would pull someone who wrote down that number and put them into the game, you know, instead of ringing someone I knew would be a better fit. I did try to use my substitutes because I didn't like having roster riders. And yeah, and so they always gave me shit for that. And then the following season, remember having season 22, we played them in the first week. They actually wanted to ring Vryktion over their soldier, who I think was Dur or something like that. And this is the rare case that I knew who they were trying to ring, but I didn't know who their normal guy was. So I don't know if Vryktion is about the same skill level, right? And so like, you know, the meme was, oh yeah, if we were in platinum, I would allow it. But like, I didn't know. You can't like fault me for trying to exercise that right to deny it if I don't know any better, right? Later on, as I got more experience, I would consult the other leaders and stuff, and ask them about players I didn't know. But at the time, I didn't have that network of people to talk to until I got to platinum, and all the the invite players were adding me and they're interested in me and whatever, right? Don't click on that. Do not click on that screen. No, it wasn't even my account. My friend like lent me his friend's account or whatever, and this was back when StarCraft 2 was in the beta. Dude, and this was like super cringe. Like I just did something stupid and put it on YouTube, and for some reason it got a lot of views. I was in high school back then. Ultra cringe. Yeah, so I don't know. That's pretty much my stance on ringers. Like, I don't like roster riders. I think people should make an effort to build a proper roster. But again, that's based on whatever the leader's expectations are and what they want to accomplish. People just aren't going to do that because, unless they actually need to do that, they're just not going to do that. It doesn't make sense to do that. And I guess I'm kind of old fashioned in that sense, because I don't think other teams kind of had that same kind of standard. I even had people's like class names in Mumble for people who were like maybe ringing. They didn't know everyone's voices. We all had like I was sniper _ sovereign. We had scout _ nugget, that kind of thing. And maybe that's kind of an old fashioned thing. hmm Yeah, I was told once I was playing in the wrong era. Because I think, at least, I mean, this is from just what they told me. I couldn't verify because I didn't play. But they said that like the way I approach things, it would have fit in with the culture of like the early days of UGC. That drive to improve. Um, uh, yeah, just all the effort that I put in, it would have fit in a lot better earlier, supposedly. But I'll never know. There was no longevity planned for any of it. It was just like we talked about. Like people were just there to play one season, and then they're just going to join a new team. Whether they win or lose, they're just going to go join a new team, and it was just like it didn't matter to them, right? Yeah, and I don't know how to stop that. Like you probably can't stop that. Um, It just really depends on the individuals. Oh, one of the other things, uh, I don't know if most people know this, but I did. It happened early on in the RGL forums. One of the other things I did to try to help with the situation. I'm gonna send you a link here. It's just a paste bin. Since this thing this post doesn't exist anymore. I put it on the old RGL forums, and you'll probably recognize some of the things that I think RGL implemented later on, and it was for this post that I made. So I discussed that. I write about like the current problems that I see in the league. Like teams have a high mortality rate. There's a lack of competitions in all the divisions. Specifically, I was speaking from a perspective of UGC because the teams were very top heavy. Like DK was like a sports dynasty, right? And then like anyone who was good on other teams, they just picked them up. And so like there was no distribution of skill, right? It wasn't like there was a salary cap or anything where people could actually be competitive because you go over the salary cap. None of that existed. And then there was also a lack of growth. And then I think at the time there was a prize pool. So I set out to try to address those problems. There's a link there at the top there as a visual guide to help visualize what I wanted. Essentially, I wanted it, and Daff actually talked a little bit about this kind of thing in your interview with him. It doesn't really make sense that people can just decide what division they're going to play in. You know, like it should be decided by the league so that things can be competitive. And so the way I envisioned this to happen was I called it a challenger tournament. I didn't know what to call it. I just made up some shit. But essentially, like the league would operate from a top-down point of view, where the top 4 teams that were in invite in the previous season are guaranteed to be an invite that season, and everyone else has to fight for their spot. And so you would dedicate a couple of weeks to have a miniature tournament where you take the bottom 4 teams. So the bottom 4 teams of whoever was an invite in the previous season, and the top 4 teams that was in advance in the previous season, and then that's a bracket of 8, and they would compete. And the top 4 teams of the result of that tournament would be the bottom 4 teams in invite, and then whoever lost would be the top 4 teams in advance. And the way this works is that you would actually have like half of the division would be competitive with each other, and you know at the very least, and it would just you would follow that trend all the way down, and you would have a lot of coverage with that as well, because if you actually read the proposal, you would have these little casted, I guess, qualifier games, so that people can watch, and it would be for every division. People could watch. You don't need to be playing for invite to be casted. You could be playing in whatever the lower divisions are, and you could have your shot at the limelight. And like that's really important for growth, right? If you don't need to be the best to be watched, you could be in open or main or whatever the fuck it was, and your friends can watch you play. And like I think that would have been really important for growing the league. And I put a lot of effort trying to flush this idea out. For example, like I wanted things to be fair in the way that the admins handled things. For example, like if people thought that a team threw the qualifiers so that they would go down, they could potentially make an adjustment to move a team up or down or whatever they saw fit. But a little bit of transparency, right, so that people they don't feel like they're getting shafted by the league. Because I know that people kind of felt that way in UGC sometimes when they would move teams up and down. Yeah, like This was definitely just a draft. I did want to spark a discussion in the old forums so that people can discuss this and like maybe work out the numbers or make it better or whatever, so that the league would be, you know, growing and competitive with each other. Um, but that never happened. The people just didn't comment on it and whatever. I know I did send this to Exa and uh, privately. I think he showed it with the other admins, and they did like aspects of it, which is why some of this was implemented. Um, but yeah. I think it had to do with my ban. I think there's a, you know, a negative rep that was associated with me, and they not only that, like I think a lot of people just saw me as kind of a meme because they didn't really know me that well. So I put a lot of effort into this in an attempt to to help the league. But evidently, whether it's because it was me or people just don't care that much, who knows. Um, but yeah, this is probably like the last thing that I ever did trying to 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 do anything for the Highlander community. I have no idea. Oh, personally, yeah. I had COVID in Canada Day. I still suffer from the cough. Um, or you mean like the pandemic in general? Well, there wasn't much to say about having COVID. It just felt like a flu. I got easy mode COVID. Let's just say. Um, I jokingly called it Chris 19, which is maybe a really bad joke, but I don't know. Uh, but yeah, the the pandemic. It was interesting. I got into Guild Wars 2. Um, maybe you don't know because we weren't all that we weren't really friends or anything at the time. But like following season 4 of RGL, I did come back to play one last season, and it was really just it was supposed to be that friend team, um, that one last friend team, and I had actually planned to initially remove everyone from my friends list who wasn't on Second Wind. I just wanted to escape from the community. Um, and it wasn't a very good season. We did lose fair and square in all the qualifiers, but they decided to move us to invite anyways. We had Fallen Lord off classing on Scout, Zoey off classing on Heavy, and yeah, it was very much just going to be a friend team. But then they moved us to invite, and then it was just a bad time. There were a lot of team problems, not necessarily personality conflicts, but like underperforming. I think is the word I would use. And as much as of a backseat that I wanted to take, it's hard to not want to win. You know what I mean? And it was really hard for me to play that season because of the job that I still work at now. At the time, my work schedule was I work graveyard shift, so it was like 9:30 p.m. Pacific time to 7:30 a.m. and they took place on Saturdays to Tuesdays. And so in Pacific time, scrims and matches are like 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. So I had to like wake up early after working a 10-hour shift. I had to wake up early to play these scrims and then go to work immediately. And like that, like I was just playing these games on like my work days. And it was like really hard for me to do any more than just playing the game. I even though I tried to take a backseat role, like it still weighed on me that we were underperforming, and I still tried to, do my best to help people fix the problems, but it was something that we couldn't really do. Uh, I don't really think we should have been in an invite, but whatever. I will say those qualifiers, like I had one of maybe the strongest performance I've ever had in any game, in the invite qualifier that we ultimately lost 4-3 against. What was it, Squirt? I'll just send you the log. Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Like this is the most you played the clip earlier of on my YouTube channel, the 17 kills. That was the first round. I got 17 kills in that first round. Um and it really set the tone there. I had a really dominant game. Like I said, like the best performance I've ever played. Um we ended up like going to the final round, and like I remember like jokingly asking like, "Hey guys, I don't need to get 17 kills to win, right?" And they're like, no. And then I got 12 kills and we lost. So sad days. But yeah, I think we definitely probably should have played in advanced. It's too bad we didn't. And then, I was going through some stuff after that. But just going back into the Highlander community was I think not a good decision. Because like there's always going to be drama that pops up. You know what I mean? And part of like I was a little bit depressed. Oh, because like my work schedule was really hard on me socially. Um, because everyone's like I'm working when everyone's free. With a Saturday to Tuesday, I'm working when everyone's free. I couldn't do anything with anybody. Not only that, I worked graveyards. So I was in a really bad spot. And in that particular Christmas, I injured my shoulder somehow. I don't know how. I couldn't move my whole arm. Uh, but I couldn't like I had one arm. I couldn't really like talk to anyone, spend time with anyone. And I spent my Christmas alone that year, and just all of that compounded with the failure of oh god, that video, cringe. Yeah, the failure of that season not living up to what I wanted it to be is a last hurrah. I instead of just removing the people who weren't on second one, I removed everybody. Um, just to get away. I felt like I was suffocating a little bit. Um, and in a lot of ways, I do kind of regret it. Uh, like I do miss a lot of the people that I removed, and it's kind of awkward now. But yeah, I moved on to Guild Wars 2, where a lot of my leadership experience actually like it came into play. Um, I'd never played an MMO before, but I got some experience like trying to lead a guild with a friend. Um, it was really interesting, like finally learning a new game and having a new main game after many years of Team Fortress 2. Uh, I did mentor people in Guild Wars 2 as well. People who wanted to learn how to do like PvE content. I was a trainer for a long time, and very similar to my guide on leadership. Like when I was leading the guild, I tried to personally interact with people. It's actually impossible at those crazy numbers that like guilds and Guild Wars 2 can go to like 500 people, and like we weren't anywhere near 500, but it just became impossible for me to continue doing that. But I tried, and I made a big difference in a lot of people's experience playing Guild Wars 2. So yeah, it's something that I continue to try to do. Moving on after Team Fortress 2, I ended up playing with the sniper Andrew. We played some Guild Wars 2 together. I played with Menlo. I don't know if you know who Menlo is. Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, like, getting to experience some Guild Wars 2 with people. Uh, I do recommend trying it if you're ever interested in playing it. It plays like a fighting game. Like oh, you did? Oh, nice. Damn. We should play. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, that's what I was up to in COVID. Um, I don't really have any plans to return to the Team Fortress 2 community, but who knows? Like, maybe I do miss Highlander. I don't miss the community, but I miss Highlander. It's a very unique thing, It's nothing. I haven't seen anything quite like it. Um, oh, it has to come from within. The community change. I guess everyone's expectations really like Like ultimately, that's all it comes down to is what do people want from that experience, and if they don't care, you can't make them care. You know what I mean? Like this, as pessimistic as it might sound, like there's not a whole lot that I think an individual can do. It has to be the community as a whole that changes. Um, yeah, just like I did, like I showed you, I wrote the leadership guide. I tried to come up with some systems to, encourage teams living and whatever. But you know, did it save Highlander? I don't know. I doubt it. Yeah. Even if the people's lives that I impacted don't change Highlander, I do think that at least for a lot of my players, like I've made an impact on a lot of their lives, whether it was by being a good role model or just teaching them something maybe about themselves. Um, maybe I was so different that something that I might have said just sticks with them forever, right? Like I'd like to think that the players who played with me, second win was special for them, just like it was for me. Hmm. I did recently, actually. A lot of the like Pyrrhus and stuff. I added him recently. Nugget. I actually found Nugget on Reddit. I saw like he made a post in like our mechanical keyboards, and I was like, oh, it's TF2. So I clicked on it. I'm like, oh, I know this voice. And so I called him Nuckboy in the comments. He's like, only one person's ever called me Nuckboy. So yeah, and I added a bunch of people back, and yeah, it's like nothing ever happened. Like we're all like really good friends. Um, still doing anime night. Uh, I watch movies sometimes too, like with Daffodil. Um, but yeah, lifetime friendships, lifelong rather. Yeah. By the way, this is like a high school project, dude. Like it's pretty cringe, but at the time, like this was like, I don't know, Machinima was popping off, and I thought this was a creative way to do a video project for social studies or whatever. Um, like I said, I've had the same YouTube channel since I was a kid. Uh, it's really cringe, but yeah, this is like high school. Oh, yeah. I think we probably discussed everything, unless there's some particular take you or that you want me to. Sure. I already said happy birthday to Daffodil. Well, I guess it's no longer his birthday. Holy shit, we've been talking for such a long time. Oh man, that's almost as long as I talked to Pyrrhus for today. My throat's like destroyed right now. Um, yeah, yeah. Big shout out to Pyrrhus and Zoey. I got to prepare for this with them. We got a lot of thoughts on paper. Just rehearsing, getting some details clearer. It's probably something I missed. I honestly don't know. It's probably something I wanted to talk about. I failed you, Nugget. I didn't get to talk about Haikyuu. It didn't come up naturally, so that's a failure on my part. Um, yeah, shout out to like everyone who played on Second Wind and who was a part of the team in one way or another. Really, the team meant more to me than than a lot of you might know, and I really hope that it was enjoyable for all of you as well. Markers did win best or most kawaii for a number of seasons in a row. Just want to throw that out there. It's part of our surveys. Oh! I gotta show you this Twitch. It's a really bad clip. Holy shit! But it's one of those like legendary moments from season 20. Maybe it's a little bit mean. But this is one of our players. It's gonna have his name in it, so it's not a secret anymore. It's Gore. We were doing like in-house pubs once. He was so drunk. We didn't get a chance to see the rollout, but it would have been faster to walk to mid, and then he just shot at his team. Like if you had volume, holy shit! It's actually like his team is so confused. And I'm so happy that we have this clip. It's so legendary.
They have no med.
I did want to share this, not to make fun of Gore. He's a really nice guy, but like, you can't not laugh at that. Like, you have to laugh. And someone was like, "No, he's not down. That's a lie." Yeah. Just shout out to everyone on Second Wind. Shout out to everyone who comes to anime night. Anyone who's listening, if you're suffering from depression, hang on. Just try to make one change. Any progress in any direction is good. It's growth. Actually, just a small tangent there. One of my real life friends, actually, I never knew this until he told me about this recently. But apparently, like, he played a little bit of TF2 in the past. He didn't really know much, but I went to school with him in post-secondary. We were classmates for similar things, and he admitted to me that like it actually inspired him when he saw me setting out to lead a team, rather, so that I can work on my teamwork skills. I don't remember how I told that group of friends. But apparently it was really inspiring because to him, like, this was a time in, I guess, most of our lives where we had all graduated roughly around the same time, and we were all just like, trying to find a job in the workforce and going around playing games. And to him, instead of just playing games mindlessly, obviously they knew that I had not gotten the job for that particular job that I talked about. But instead of just continuing to just screw around and play video games for nothing, I was applying myself towards something. I was playing with a purpose, and it inspired him to pick up some new hobbies, which I thought was really cool. I had never heard that until he told me. So yeah, do anything to grow, and eventually things will get better. Fuck, I don't know. It was way too much. This is like, yeah, I doubled the amount of hours that I've spent on this today. So yeah, this is fun. Yeah, I'll just interview Fallen Lord or like Alto or something. I really think those two will be good interviewees. And I do think that having multiple people being interviewed at the same time, like it might be a lot of fun. It might be a lot of really interesting what you can talk about. So yeah. Yeah, the legendary Pyro Council.